And we are going free. How are you all doing out there today? We're having a lot of news go on, a lot of events taking place. Dropping of the cell phones. Let's see, who all do we have in the chat? I see Machiavelli sucks. Auntie Faith, is everybody hearing me okay? First, we'll check that out. If you can hear me okay, please say so. I see Seaver, I see Sifu is out. Howard is here. Yanish is here. Hello to you. If I'm saying that right now, I think you said the R sound was wrong last time. NK, we hear you just fine, Jason. Thank you very much. There's Ryan. Excellent timing as always. Thank you for the stream today, big guy. Thank you for being here. We'll start off as normal, I guess, saying hello to you all and asking you all, if you haven't already, to tweet and gab the stream, post it up on your Facebook, on your VK, on your Minds account. I am going to try to get us up on over on Entropy as well and see if we can make that work. Has anyone logged on to, if they are using Entropy, has anyone logged on to it, and is it working? To be able to see the stream. I better turn that off. Thank you very much for that, Seaver, for gabbing it out to your communities of influence. There's Spartan Warrior Queen. Great to see you here as always. Phoenix Fire is here. Ivory Rose. Great to see you. Digital Poseidon. Mrs. Horst is here. Great to see you as well. Logan is here. Basketball. Jem is here. A lot of good people showing up because you want to go free. There's Josh. Great to see you, brother. Now remember, folks, there's Shauna. Great to see you as well. Laura is here. Always wonderful to see you, my good friend. Sven is here. Honk, honk in return. All right, we got to get up to speed. We got to get excited. We got to talk about the things that are going on. If we can get Entropy to work, we will try to do that as well. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that if you want me to see your comments, you can just write them into the chat on YouTube, or to up the chances of me seeing your comments or questions, you can tag me at right with the @ symbol, no white guilt. It will turn my name orange for me, and I will see that you have directed a question or comment at me if you are unfamiliar with how to do that. Also, if you all could, if you see someone in the chat who is confused, they don't know how to do these sorts of things. There are people out there who are new to the platform, who might be well acquainted with others, but when they get to this one, they're not quite sure. If you see someone who doesn't seem to know what they're doing, maybe they're writing the @ symbol. I've seen this before. They write the @ symbol and then they write Jason there. Reach out to that person and tell them, hey, this is how you properly tag Jason. This is how you probably tag No White Guilt, so that they can get my eyes on their comments and questions sooner. I will appreciate it. They will appreciate it. No one will take offense at that. It will be very helpful. So I thank you all for that. There's Taylor. Great to see you as well. Sean is here. Fighting is here. Patrick Henry, back from the grave. Good to see you. Is here as well. If anybody knows the folks over at Entropy, I don't think, has anybody, let me ask you this, has anybody clicked the link for Entropy, and are they able to see the stream from there? I have not been able to pull it up. To continue with what I was saying before, if you want to absolutely get your question or comments read, then you can super chat. If you super chat here on YouTube, that is at a 33% loss to your super chat. If you super chat by way of the familiar alternative, which is down in the description, you will find that that alternative, as I say in the description, still working, and that is roughly a 4% cost to your super chat. Sean Alexander writes, I'm loving Born Guilty so far. Thank you very much for mentioning the book Born Guilty, Sean, and that you are loving it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have the book already, this is Born Guilty. It is a thick book, but I assure you that it is a quick read. Others who have read the book can attest to that, because in Born Guilty, it is an experimental literature. I invite you to come to my apartment, my home out in the Plains, Virginia, where I entertain you and I educate you over a 2-day period. I'm your host and your guide. I'm not with you the whole time, though. When I'm not with you, you read from some of the books in my library. Those books are contained in this book. And you also dream while you're with me. There are over 200 illustrations in this book. I can share some of that. You can see here that there are illustrations. The illustrations give you some more details about where you are, what you're experiencing, your environment. You will read from a story called Crucible, which is a nonfiction tale about my time in junior high school, roughly 11 to 13 years of age, where I began fighting back against first asking innocent questions about these anti-white conclusions, these anti-white arguments, memes, lexicon, and wondering if the authorities, if the leadership, if the teachers, the administrators, the principal, etc., if they were aware of the fact that all of these ideas that they had led to harm, caused harm to Western kind and Western civilization. And I thought they had to not know that that was the case, or else they would not push these things. If what they were claiming to want to do, which is to make the lives better of this group, of that group, etc., then surely they would not want to inflict harm on, say, the white children, if they're trying to make the lives of non-white children better. And I discovered, in fact, that everything that they were saying as the reasons for the things that they were doing were, in fact, just pretexts. And it was very easy to dissect these things, at least for me it was, and they couldn't answer them in any way that was acceptable, that upheld their lie, or that proved their lie to be something other than a lie. And so I began to resist and fight back against anti-whiteism. You will learn about that story. There are highs and lows. If you like modern novels, it's written in that style. You will enjoy it. You will speed right through that read. And there are times when I felt invigorated and I wanted to do everything I could to fight for our people. There were times when I doubted myself, numerous times when I doubted myself. I wanted to be liked. I was a star athlete. I had a lot of talents. I was a bright child. And I had all of these opportunities to live the life that would have been a life without hardship, a life that I could have adopted anti-whiteism. I could have said, I could have praised these anti-white ideas. And instead of having all of the white little girls despise me, as they did when I stood up for our people, instead of having them despise me, they would have celebrated me. I wanted same thing with my friends. Instead of having my friends flee in fear from me, I could have been the center of their attention as well. And also, probably most painfully, physically that is, was that by standing up for our people, I was physically attacked by the non-whites in the school. Many of the white children egged them on, fired them up to come and attack me. I never lost a fight. As I say, I was a star athlete, and I come from hardy stock, men that are tougher than me. And so I was indefatigable when it came to these contests, and you will be very satisfied with the conclusion. Despite all of the hardship and the struggle, internal and external, you will be very delighted with the conclusion of that story. You also, just briefly I'll mention, read a book called Prometheus Rising, which is a mythopoetic book. It is written in a lyrical style. I have received very humbling praise, adulation from very educated people in fields that study literature, and they are, in some cases, are in disbelief that someone who is not sequestered himself or cloistered himself into a study for the past 40 or 50 years of their lives, in just in study the entire time, could write what I wrote. It is a, as I say, fictional tale about our people. It has a narrative arc from the beginning of time, from our creation all the way up to the present, and I think is critically important to white well-being that we employ such a narrative as a lens to understand the world. The way I describe it is that mathematics is not the physical universe. It is a tool by which we observe and understand and predict physical phenomena. In the same way, Prometheus Rising is a tool in which we understand and predict social phenomena. So it is something that, if you haven't read it, it can be of extreme value to you. There are a great many layers in Prometheus Rising from which you can extract information that will empower you. And so I offer that to you as well. That is in Born Guilty. In the future, I plan on extracting both of those books, Crucible and Prometheus Rising, and making them available independent of Born Guilty. I'm also going to be, I believe, first going to be reading Prometheus Rising into an audiobook and making that available, because the speech has a very specific cadence. I have neoterized a slew of words for these environments, names, and the like, that have a very specific pronunciation. In fact, I am working with, or in the process of setting up a project with, a very talented individual, and unfortunately I haven't gotten to the email that his response, where I asked if I could say his name, his handle, and or if not that name or handle, another name or handle, so that I can praise him for the work that he is doing in helping with Born Guilty, with Prometheus Rising, with the pronunciations. He knows who he is. He's a great man. We are deeply grateful to him and his efforts for white well-being in supporting me in the work that I am doing. And we'll be talking about more and more people coming to support the work of white well-being, particularly because it works. It works. What we're doing here works, ladies and gentlemen. Elsewhere, people receive fabulous speeches about this period in history or this philosophical idea. Elsewhere, they receive fabulous information about news going on in the world. And indeed, we are going to be talking about some news here during the show today. But they're not receiving a cure to what ails them, and therefore a cure to what ails our community, our race, our people, Western kind around the world. And that is what we are focusing on. That is what I have been focusing on for a great many years, is something to cure us. We don't need another bureaucrat. We don't need another paper pusher. We don't need another person who is a personality and who can get eyes from far and wide on them, and then runs the movement, or runs the white positive sphere into another dead-end alley, or something much worse than a dead-end alley, like trains colliding with each other. What we need is something that comes from the cool mind of rationale, and addresses the issues that specifically are harming us, the diseases, the thought diseases, which really are these MPs. We had the question last week about using some of this jargon, and someone said we're having problems using some of the jargon like MP. And the reason I mentioned then, and I'll just briefly mention again now, is that you don't start off with the jargon. This should be mildly obvious, because as with any field, you have jargon that facilitates the communication of ideas and enables the participants to get from point A to point B much more rapidly. However, those who are not already going free, those who have not already adopted the jargon, are confused when they hear, just as confused as they are when your doctor uses jargon, or when your lawyer uses jargon, or your accountant uses jargon. So how do those people communicate? Or your carpenter, or your plumber? How do those people communicate with you then? They use different words to describe what they want to tell you, words that you will already know. And then once they have described this concept, they then say to you, and this is what it's called. That is how we communicate an idea. I have no doubt that there are going to be agent provocateurs. There are agent provocateurs and have been agent provocateurs in our streams, in our threads, that are going to do everything they can to disparage the good work that we're doing here, because they can see the anti-whites. They can see the success that we have. I have no doubt that they're going to come in and say, this doesn't work in this little way, or that doesn't work in that little way, for the purpose of turning you off to these things. So be aware of that. Now, there are going to be people who have genuine questions, and we'll speak to those questions as well. And in the future, we're even going to be doing, I think, call-in shows. They may only take place on Entropy when we do those. So we'll see, though. We're still figuring these things out. We have some opportunities for us. I did want to say, right as we're getting started with this, and I know that I see the chat going by, and I think Entropy is still not working. We will see if we can rectify that at some point here in the show, because it should be, based on everything that I did before to make it work, it should be working again. So let's just quickly, I'll do this one more time. Okay. So let me know. I redid the process, and let me know if anybody is able to get on to Entropy now and see the stream. It looks like the YouTube video is playing on Entropy, but I don't see any of the other. I did make some changes. There may be an issue with that. Curious though, indeed. But let's proceed then. I do want to say, and then I'll jump back here and say hello to all of you. I've seen some tags for me in the super chat. I mean, in the chat rather, and we do have some super chats already. So I want to make sure that I'm getting to everybody. I don't want to miss anyone. I see Serbmaster 5000 is here. Good name. This entire show. Well, first of all, we're going to be talking about what I mentioned before. A couple things in the news, what's in the title, but we're also going to be focusing heavily on the persecution, the suppression, the censorship that the anti-whites are committing against us for heresy, specifically rather for being for white well-being, which the anti-whites obviously object to. Now, there have been a couple of articles written about me, and one focusing specifically on me to slander me, to turn our people off from me. That's the purpose of these types of articles, of course, by a talentless typist by the name of Eyes on the Right. He wrote a specific smear piece. Perhaps you all have heard of Eyes on the Right. Wrote a smear piece about me a couple of weeks ago. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the show. But I do want to mention, and I want you all to get excited about this, that I want this just to be among us in something that is really going to be upsetting for Eyes on the Right. Every single dollar that is raised today for white well-being, every single dollar that comes in by way of any of the means of super chatting today is in the name of Eyes on the Right. So, Eyes on the Right, when you write smear pieces about me, you will be raising money for the cause of white well-being. Specifically today, every dollar that comes in by way of super chat is in the name of Eyes on the Right. Your smear piece is not only not going to, it's just so poorly written, and I'll be looking at it a little later, is not only not going to prevent our people from coming to the cause of white well-being and going free. Not only is it not going to accomplish the objective that you had set for it, but instead, you are going to be raising money for your effort for white well-being. So every dollar coming in, everyone just be aware of this. If you haven't super chatted before and you really want to give a middle finger to these anti-whites who write these smear pieces with the objective of destroying the lives, they're not just saying I disagree with no white guilt, and they can't just call me by my handle. No, Eyes on the Right has to hide behind this name, Eyes on the Right, not using his name. But they will never just call me by my handle. They'll never just say no white guilt. No, they always have to put in there Jason Kuna, Jason Kuna. The objective here is to destroy the person. This is not about I disagree with what no white guilt says. And here are the reasons why I disagree with him. No, this is about character assassination. This is about career assassination. This is about getting no white guilt ostracized from his community, his family, his organizations. That is the objective of people like Eyes on the Right. And in case you all weren't aware, the same pain centers in your brain that light up when you feel physical pain are the pain centers that light up when you are ostracized. That is why we have such a reluctance. That's why it takes such heroism to speak thoughts that are heretical today. That is why it is such a heroic act to stand up and to say things that the regime says you are not permitted to say, and that they will destroy you for saying them. That today is the act of a hero. That today is as heroic as climbing out of that trench and heading at the enemy with the guns blazing. That today takes as much heroism as pulling that sword from your belt and charging into battle, because it is the exact same pain centers that are lit in your brain when you are ostracized from your community, when your employer fires you, when you face eviction from the places you live because you cannot pay your bills, when you have to hide your car so the repo man can't find it and carry it off to oblivion. That is what people like Eyes on the Right are doing. And you are a sick individual. To be anti-white, you are a sick individual. But you are a sick individual to make that what you do for a living, to destroy the lives of people. Not I just disagree. I think Jason's ideas are bad. No, this is about destroying. This is about ruining people's lives. And so, Eyes on the Right, instead of accomplishing your goal of ruining me, you, my anti-white friend, are going to be raising money for the cause of white well-being. Good job. And perhaps this will be what we do from now on. When any of these anti-white pundits or writers want to smear me or slander the process of going free, when they do that, we will raise money specifically in their name every single time. So that's where we're going to go. So let me get to some of these. We have, first thing, some of these super chats. Objective Realist super chatting with $20 and writing glad to help. Thank you so much for the kind super chat in the name of Eyes on the Right. Everybody give a big single finger to Eyes on the Right for their kind, for this effort that he has made to bring in the money. Thank you, Objective Realist. We have Pamela super chatting with $20. Here's another $20, she writes. Well, thank you very much for the kind super chat. The cause of white well-being. As we do everything a la Silhouette, it will go far. We also have Pamela back again, $20. Perhaps this one came in before. Writing, hello, friends of white well-being. Red Ice member here. Glad to be here. Well, thank you so much for being such a munificent supporter, both of Red Ice and of the cause for going free. Red Ice, of course, Henrik and Lana doing great work over there, getting a lot of info out to people, and appreciate that greatly. So thank you for that. Thank you for supporting us here, because we have the serum. We have the antidote for anti-whiteism. And it is, as I say, a curative contagion. We are helping people to go free. I'm going to have to do a show or shows or make it a regular thing where I share with you all these emails, these messages, these DMs, etc., that come in from people using the lexicon and defeating the anti-whites, changing the minds of their family members, bringing more people to the cause. So thank you very much. Okay, so that looks like we have Pamela's now. Laurel, thank you very much, Laurel, for the $10 super chat and writing, "Dear Eyes on the Right, mess with the bull, get the horns." Thank you very much for that. It's very specific super chat. "Two Eyes on the Right. He does deserve it." Over here, by way of the familiar alternative, we have a Quebec coming in with a super chat of $25. A great friend, hero, and supporter of white well-being, helping us to get this message to as many people as we can for as long as we can. Quebec with $25, not writing anything, but coming back again, also by way of the familiar alternative. And you can find that down in the description below. It is working just fine. Quebec super chatting $200 to the cause of white well-being and writing, "Here is to Eyes on the Right." So thank you very much for that, Quebec. That is a magnificent super chat that is going right to Eyes on the Right. And I want Eyes on the Right's employer over there at Angry White Men to know that Eyes on the Right is raising money for white well-being. Is that the kind of employee that you want in your midst, who is raising already this much money for white well-being? This is the kind of person you have working for you. Probably not the kind of person you want as a terrible typist in your offices. Very, very kind super chat, Quebec. We also have Chuck Ford, another great hero of the friend, back again and again, supporting white well-being in numerous ways, super chatting $10. This is by way of the familiar alternative and writing, "Glad to donate, NWG." Well, thank you very much for that. Another big finger to Eyes on the Right, and we'll give the finger here to Eyes on the Right. Thank you so much, and we'll give that finger over and over. Seeing Red, super chatting by way of the familiar alternative, $5. Thank you very much for that kind super chat. And writing, "Thank you, Jason, for your persistence. Love the last production video." And hashtag Eyes on the Right. Well, thank you very much for that, Seeing Red. Already, Eyes on the Right has done a fantastic job raising money for white well-being. Not a very good job smearing me and the process of going free, but a magnificent raiser of funds for white well-being. If you all could hold on for 1 second, I'm going to put you on my avatar so that I can turn on the AC here in the room. We want to keep the computers functioning at peak performance. And if you all are unaware, if you have never been to the Northern Virginia, DC metropolitan area, you will know that it gets hot here in the summer. We have upper 90s, mid 90s, upper 90s with humidity that readily takes us over 100 degrees real feel, and it gets easy to get hot. So let's take a look. I do see this streaming coming through on Entropy, but I still don't see, and perhaps this is because of the changes I worked on with them, I still don't see the rest of the app working as it should at the moment. So if anyone from Entropy is listening, reach out to me on Gab, and we will see. That's how we've communicated before. We will see if we cannot get your platform up and running. I assume, ladies and gentlemen, that it is something that I am doing wrong, or the computer is not functioning properly, which is entirely possible. But I'm going to take the blame rather than pass it off to the good folks at Entropy, at least what we know of them so far, good people. And so we're going to get into, I'm going to say hello to some folks here that I see in the chat who have said hello. And we're going to get on to some of this news and anything you guys want to talk about, as well as I move through the material that I have here. So I've mentioned Seaver. Hamlin, I hello to you. There's Jilly Storm. I love these going free episodes by No White Guilt. Why aren't there more people waiting? I will tweet and gab it now. Everyone do the same if you love going free. Well, thank you very much, Jilly Storm, for that comment. And I suspect and hope that people followed your admonition. I see, let's see, I see Tony here, Seven Serpents. Hello to you all. I did mention Sifu a little earlier. Yanish, did I get your name right? Mentioned Ryan. There's Seth. Jennifer, I mentioned. Logan, I mentioned. Let's see who else we have here. Rope your friends in, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing here is going to be, we're not going to be in any way manifesting the Hollywood, the anti-white Hollywood stereotypes of what it means to care about white well-being. So none of that is present. You can share these things with your friends and family. This is all coming from a place of love. Now, having said that, I realize that it is, it's because this is heretical, because the anti-whites are such tyrants, because they don't allow any deviation from anti-whiteism, that this in and of itself, just expressing concern for white people, is an act that requires bravery. I realize that, but it's not the same as if you're going to try to turn people on to a community that has many of the markers, regrettably, that the anti-whites have sewn into these egregious characters in all of these televisions, commercials, books, movies, and the like. None of that goes on here. Sean Alexander says hello back. There's Patricia, hello to you. I mentioned Ivory Rose. There's Chuck Fuse is here. Mitch Ward, great to see you. Great to see you all. Let me see. This is how to ask Jason a question. In case anyone was asking, you can also send super. Well, thank you very much. That is a fantastic. I had mentioned that right at the beginning of the stream, and you immediately responded. Well done. Let's see. Wayne Scully. I also get the streamer is not online when I click on the link for entropy. Very curious. I have. We'll see. I might be a little behind in the chat, so we'll see if at least people can see the stream. I don't know if you can super chat by way of that platform. If you do, though, super chat by way of entropy, it is at 15%. Google is at 33%, and the familiar alternative is at 4%. There is Antifa saying entropy is offline. There's Joel is here. Great to see you. Mentioned Tony Maureen is here. Ode to Joy. Joel is here. Great to see you. Avid Fan is here. Great to see you as well. Roots is here. Thank you very much. Says hit the like button. Indeed, folks. If you haven't, I'm going to echo what Roots had to say. Hit the like button. Click subscribe. Click the bell. Make sure if you've done these things, you've done the subscribe and the bell. If you've done them in the past, make sure that they are still clicked. It's just become almost prosaic now to talk about the censorship that the anti-whites continue to inflict on us. All of these glitch banning and the things that they do. Make sure that you are still linked in. Also, make sure that if you speak with people or somebody comes on, they're watching the live stream, and they mention that they are unable to see my content after the stream, it gets deleted because they're in one of these European countries in which the governments censor my content. Make sure to tell them to change their location on YouTube to the United States or India or Korea, someplace like this. And if that doesn't work, to go ahead and use a VPN. Now, there is a browser that has a built-in VPN. If somebody could supply the chat with that name, I can't recall which one it is. Most VPNs you have to pay for. So it is something, though, you're going to want. It is something that everyone is going to want for the future, if not immediately, because it's not just me. The censorship continues, and before you know it, you're going to need a VPN just to be able to visit a site that is going to speak negatively about a movie. So a negative movie review, you're going to go to this site, you're going to look at this negative movie review, and then there is going to be some sort of law, some sort of infraction that you will have broken or made as a consequence of reading this impermissible review. And of course, the big movement behind that, unlike what we're having with us here in something that's much more substantial, and that is going free, serving white well-being, saving Western kind. In those scenarios, it's going to be the big corporations are going to be using their money and have been using their money just like they use their wealth to get access to politicians and pass laws that benefit them and harm small startups and the like. They're going to be using and are using their wealth and have been using their wealth to get into these companies and to prevent these small content producers from giving a voice to things that will undermine the profits, so that these multimillionaires, even billionaires, will have to go with one fewer house or one fewer yacht or one fewer Lamborghinis, because there are these small content producers that are living hand to mouth, that are giving you a review that actually serves your needs, somebody that you jibe with, that you have the same opinion. Those people will get shut down. If you want to be able to reach them, and it probably won't be that long off in the future, you're going to need a VPN. If you want to be able to reach them and not have the government mail you a ticket in your post box, I can see this easily being the future for the across the entirety of the West, mailing you a ticket saying, we know you went to this website and here's your fine. And of course, this is just going to be another way to extract many hundreds of millions, even billions, from the white race as we continue to dwindle in our own civilization, so that those sums can continue to be redistributed to the non-white populations that grow exponentially as a result. Just like the tickets on the highway, we already shoulder the lion's share of the burden for taxation and take the smallest share in return for benefits. The non-whites in our countries, different countries, taking the larger shares proportionately than ourselves. This will be just another way to get more money out of us. So it'll serve several purposes. The businesses, the private businesses that the libertarians worship at the feet of, they'll be able to pressure these groups into silencing the movie reviewers and the like, the gaming reviewers and the like. And it's also going to serve the purpose of filling the coffers, filling up the government with some more money that they can then redistribute, more money that they'll need as society continues to have its wheels fall off and things get worse. So NK writing, I agree with Jason. It would be much easier to not care, but it's impossible to do it not after knowing so much. Not exactly sure what you were responding to right there. Adrian says, I bought your book now. Thank you very much for that. Well done. You are going to have an excellent experience reading that book. It's not only going to be entertaining for you, but it is going to be extremely empowering, even if you are and have been in the white positive sphere for a while. There are going to be things in this book, material that you have not seen before, that is going to empower you and excite you. It's going to give you tools that you can use in all situations. You're not going to need Jason with you. That is why the anti-whites hate what I'm doing so much, is because they know that once I teach you, you don't need me anymore, and you can teach someone else. That they don't want. They like the guy who wants, or the gal who wants, the limelight. Those are the people they like, because they know that you need those people to continue to advance your ideas. And in fact, we can, not in this stream, but in another stream, a wonderful lady came up with the phrase, or came up with the idea that I then turned into the phrase of a reputational investment. A lot of these people who are just seeking the limelight will speak about ideas that they don't actually down deep really invest in, but they pretend they do so that they can get all eyes on them. The problem is that you then think that they, in their wisdom and their intelligence, in their study, have come to some conclusion that you have failed to understand, and then you adopt their position. You have invested your reputation in them, because then you go out and share those thoughts with your friends, family, and strangers. And then what happens? All of a sudden, that attention seeker, that carnival barker decides, well, this is not working for me anymore. I'm going to drop that dumb idea. And then you look like an idiot to all of your friends, family, and the strangers you spoke with. That's not going to happen here. I'm not seeking any limelight. I'm giving you tools that you can use. You can go out into the world and improve yourself and save our people, save our countries. So, Adrian, thank you very much. I will say this for everyone who does purchase Born Guilty. There is a unique device in the book. When you come to the unique device in the book, it is not an error. Here's the clue. Here's the tip. Reflect on the context of where you are in the story, and then follow the alphabet. If you follow those tips, you will solve the riddle, I guess we can say, of the unique device. So let's see what else we have here. Good afternoon from Walter. Hello to Walter. Good to see you. CB is here. Good to see you. Kung Slug is here. Jason, you give me hope and light. Best regards from a confused Sweden. Great to see you. Thank you for the kind comment. You all give me hope. And we should, this is reciprocal. I feel the energy that you all send to me, and I feed it right back to you all, because we are on a road, on a path that leads to the peak of this mountain, that is going to take us to the victory of recapturing our destiny. All things around us are going to burn to ash as we traverse this road. There are going to be mudslides. There are going to be earthquakes. There are going to be fires. There are going to be great storms overhead. And the closer we get to that mountain top, the greater the storms will seem. The sharper the lightning will seem. But we will get there. I assure you this, my friends. And when we do, those skies will clear for us. Just as when you're in an airplane and you're looking down over the storm that rains on the city below, on the airport below, and for you, the clouds are white and the sky is blue. That is what it will be like when we reach the top of our mountain. So thank you very much for those kind words from Sweden. Big love back from Virginia. Clatter writing, of course they did, because you are the evil one. That's a good one. Thank you very much for writing. Thank you for being here. And maybe we'll use Super Chat to get your next comment read. You should, and I was going to say this about eyes on the right. This Clatter and the eyes on the right, you all should come away from this hatred, this disgusting behavior of trying to destroy a race of man. No one is fooled anymore. We know that your pretexts are just pretexts. It's transparent. It's really become an IQ test. That if an anti-white continues to try to hide behind the pretexts, it really speaks directly to a low level of intelligence. Because this is so obvious now. It's been decade after decade after decade of you all producing fruits that are anti-white, that inflict harm on our people in every single case. So there's no use in hiding it anymore. There's no use in saying that your hatred of Western kind or Western civilization is just you trying to help this group or just trying to make up for that wrong, because it is transparent. It is obvious what you're doing, what you want. I have disassembled every one of your arguments. I am showing the community and more white people all the time how to do the same. And we are going out into the world. We are having our discussions with you, and we are defeating you again and again and again. In fact, we're going to be talking about in an upcoming Going Free stream about a great discussion that one of our proud members have had in our rapidly growing community online, and totally annihilated the anti-white that he was having a discussion with. So this has just become pathetic of you all. Go ahead and just state what you mean, right? So what you're saying is, since Jason cares, since No White Guilt cares about white well-being, since, as I say, my tagline is dignity for all, even whites, since I care at all for white people, in your eyes, I'm evil. That means that the only moral position is to inflict harm on Western kind and Western civilization. Thank you for that honesty. Thank you. We now know exactly where you're coming from, and we can deal with you and the others like you appropriately, which is that we're going to move right away from you, and we're going to move on to another white person who will hear our message. And then, potentially the day comes when you are invited to leave Western civilization since you hate it so much. You will be invited to maybe move to Nicaragua, where you might fit in a little better, or they might fit you into a fireplace, or whatever they do to gringos in places like that. So thank you very much for that. Question everything. Thank you, brother. I needed the message of white well-being today. Well, you are so very welcome. We've got more super chats coming in, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of Eyes on the Right. Eyes on the Right, I have to thank you. You're doing a great job in bringing in liquidity for the cause of white well-being. And since I am adept, very adept, at making every dollar go as far as a mile, you are doing a great deal of good for white well-being. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you very much. James, how does one reach out without risking their current job, future prospects, or being the subject of attack? No white guilt. How do you weigh the personal risk against our fate if we do nothing? We are beyond the point of just, and let me first say, I understand. I am out front. I am not going to sacrifice you. This is why I don't come up with stupid ideas just to get attention on me, just to get eyes on me, so that people will look at me and hear me talk for the next 2 weeks or 2 months about some dumb idea, have you adopt it, and then go out into the world and make a fool of yourself. I care about you. I want to empower you. I want you to look like a hero in your circles. If you are in a scenario where it's an instant loss of work, or it's an instant ostracization from your family for say, being blatantly white positive, say, for example, you can begin in ways that are very subtle when it comes to serving white well-being. You can begin in places like saying, if it's fair for to render aid to the non-white children, then isn't it also fair to render aid to white children? You can begin at a place like that. Now, I know that is going to take an act of bravery. And the reason it takes an act of bravery is because that is a heretical thing to say in an anti-white dominated world. And you can even say that to the person, family member, friend, co-worker. You can even say that. You can say, look, I know it's heretical. In fact, you should say that, because it immediately sets the premise of reality that the anti-whites are in charge, not white people who care about white well-being, but people of all races and religions who want to inflict harm on whites and Western civilization. So you can say, look, I know it's a heretical thing to say, but, and then say what you have to say. There's another layer, of course, and I talked about this months ago when I did my video where I was changing the brakes on my car. And that is that to serve in this cause, you can serve in many ways. You can be out front like I am. You can be on the front lines. You can be with your face, talking directly to people. You can be on video. You can write books in your name. You could write leaflets in your actual name. You could be out front. But the support staff, if you have ever been in the military, or you know someone who has been in the military, then you'll know very well that the support staff for every single soldier is massive. So we need a massive support staff. There are a great many things that you can do behind the scenes that no one will know about. Certainly not your anti-white employer. Think for a moment, and I'll just tell you this. There are white positive employees at Google. They are in hiding. There are white positive employees at YouTube. They are in hiding. They can't say a single white positive thing because they know with these heretical laws in place, they will be fired. But they can still support. They can support, you can support with your education, with your time, with your money, with your diligence, with your with your going out into the public, physically going out into the public, putting up stickers, putting out leaflets, putting up pamphlets. You can do all of these things. So I want you all to assess where you are in this process of going free for you. Are you able to articulate these things? If you're not, if you don't feel strong enough, now one of the things I encourage in the first edition of Go Free and the second one, which is nearing completion, is that you have to practice these things. You have to practice this lexicon. You have to practice these dialectics. You have to go online, create a new pseudonym, even if you already have one. It is worthwhile to be a pseudonymous and with a new name. Go onto message boards, go onto other threads, and use these arguments. It's not enough to hear me say them. It's not enough to read them in the book. You have to actually take the information and then apply it. You're going to have, when you apply the information, you're going to then say, oh, but what about this particular situation? What do I do here? You then go back to what you've read. You then think about it. You ponder it. You reach out in these live streams, and I can help you. Maybe you look back at things I've said in old videos, and you find the answer, and then you can go back to that same conversation and start it up again. You could do the same thing. You could do the same sort of practicing by writing letters. If you don't really have a lot of access to the internet and you have received these videos or this message or just the book some other way, you can do the same thing by writing letters to the editor. No, they're not going to get published, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is training, is for you to get better at using the lexicon and using the arguments so that you can. Now, if you are weak in this area, or you face some sort of instantaneous, or you believe you perceive response, character assassination, career assassination as a result, then involve yourself in one of the support ways that you can involve yourself. But do not just be a receiver of information. Don't just listen and say, I'm doing something by hearing No White Guilt have something to say on this. No, you've got to get involved. We have all got to clasp hands and rope in as many people as we can, and they will come to this curative contagion. That I can promise you. They will come when they hear this. This is something new. This is something that has not gone before, and so it's something that a lot of the old timers, something that a lot of the newer people are jealous of, quite frankly, because they didn't figure out the strategy that will bring people, the general people, by large numbers to the cause of white well-being. They didn't figure it out. They might be smarter than I am, but I've been thinking about it for a hell of a lot longer. I've been experimenting with it for a hell of a lot longer. They might be better looking. They might be taller. They might be wealthier. They might be everything better than me, but I have been thinking about it. I have been experimenting with it. I have dedicated myself to it year after year, to finding the ways to free you of your mean pathogens, and then for you to be able to communicate that information without having to become a great salesman or saleswoman to friends and family, so that you can wake them up. And that's what we're doing. So that's a great question, James. Thank you very much for that. Let's get to some of these super chats. I see a bunch of subscribers coming in. Fantastic. Great to see you all. Where did we leave off on? I think it was super chatting by way of the familiar alternative. The last was Seeing Red that we mentioned. We have Mary super chatting $50, 50 by way of the familiar alternative. Thank you so much for that, Mary. She's writing, hello, Jason. Keep up the great work. I love your shows, especially the Going Free shows. I'm a Red Ice member too. Lots of love from Germany. Well, lots of love in return from Virginia to, of course, I'm largely German and English ancestry, Scandinavian, German, English ancestry, but I have all of Europe running through my veins, ladies and gentlemen. I had the DNA checked. I even have Russia, Eastern Europe, very little Southern Europe, but it's there. So mostly, though, Germanic, Scandinavian, English. Thank you all. Much love back. $50. And I believe they are 6 hours ahead. So it is a late night for you. Thank you for staying up for us and freeing yourself from these mean pathogens. And of course, thank you, Eyes on the Right, for helping to raise that $50 for white well-being. Patrick Walsh, super chatting $5 by way of the familiar alternative. Thank you so much. Let's all stick it to this Eyes on the Right hack and slanderer. Indeed. Thank you very much, Patrick, for that $5 super chat. That is a magnificent super chat. This is absolutely superb. Again, I mean, maybe Eyes on the Right, his employer needs to know all the money he's raising for white well-being. Maybe like they always get us fired from our jobs, as though that is something that, like, just losing your keys for 10 minutes. That's just all the inconvenience that is. People train for their jobs. People go to school for half a decade to learn how to do their job. Whether it's university, college, or trade school, they can spend years of their lives, even depending, of course, upon the profession, a decade of their life learning how to do that job. And when an anti-white gets them fired, that is an extraordinary injury that should be punishable by law in our country, because ultimately that's a tortious interference. They are interfering with what essentially is a contractual relationship with your employer. The employer's paying you for your performance. You have a contractual relationship with that employer, or if you have your own business, anti-whites putting you out of business, as they have done to many of our people in the past as well. This means not just that you are undermined for 10 minutes and then you find your keys again. No, this means you can't make your payments. You cannot buy your food. So they are starving you, your children, the people you are caring for. They are depriving you, your children, of the medical needs that they have. When the little one has the 103-degree temperature, you are not going to be able to go to the hospital and get free health care, as the hospital jacks up the rates for all of the white clientele. No, you are not going to be able to do that. You, ladies and gentlemen, are going to have to pay. And if the anti-white has prevented you from being able to pay that bill, that screaming, that pain, that anguish, and perhaps even the marring of that child's health or the death of that child is on the hands of the anti-white who put you out of business, who put you out of work. It is not a little thing when they do this to us, when they destroy our characters, assassinate our reputations, and get us fired from our employment or destroy our businesses. It is not a small thing, and it should be punishable by law. So let's see. We have over here on the chat, Patrick Hennessy writing, no white guilt. I guess that's for president. Well, thank you very much. I tell you, if I were elected president, I would do things very different from what Trump has been doing. Let's look over here. I really like what Patrick wrote there. Let's stick it to this Eyes on the Right hack and slanderer. That's exactly what he is. Adrian, super chatting $5 by way of the familiar alternative. Just bought your book, Born Guilty, and will read it when I'm done with the diary of a dead German artist. Can't wait. That's good. Thank you for the kind super chat. And in the name of Eyes on the Right, Sin, a great friend of the show, a great supporter of white well-being, super chatting $5. Pretty soon, they'll have to change their name to Eyes on the Reich if the anti-whites keep pushing, and they will. They will keep pushing. You're right about that, Sen. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat and a super chat in the name of Eyes on the Right. Josh Randall. Josh sent me, ladies and gentlemen, Josh sent me a picture, and I believe we tweeted this. I believe he tweeted or gabbed it, and I retweeted, regabbed, where he is decked out in no white guilt gear. He's got a mug, a no white guilt mug. Not this one. This is the design that, of course, Phoenix Fire came up with, and we're going to be talking with her a little bit more about her in just a bit. This is a absolutely beautiful design. Of course, it is the banner, the coffee. Everything tastes better from these mugs. just like Way of the World's mug. And that was a fantastic photograph by Josh. Thank you very much for that, Josh. Big hero of our community. So let's see what else we have. That was Josh Randall's super chat of $10 and writing, "This might sound weird, but I was very happy to see you included in that hit piece in Huffington Post. You and your message is really making the powers that be scared." It is indeed getting attention in ways, this message, this curative contagion of going free. Ladies and gentlemen, you are this message. You are this power. You are this spreading energy among our people. This is getting the attention of the anti-whites. This I have on good report from people who know in some of these networks. Of course, the anti-whites will never know who I'm talking about. But this I can tell you, that they are absolutely frightened by going free. They know that this is the message they have always dreaded. This is what they fear. This looks nothing like what they have demonized before. This is nothing like their Hollywood stereotypes. This is something that, I guess, like a Donald Trump presidency, that they really have to reel themselves back in and find a brand new approach to. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be impossible because things have gone too far for them. The momentum is too great. These dogs of theirs, Antifa, anti-whites, and the rest, they cannot be reined in at this point. They will go to their bloody conclusion on the pages of their story, killing and ruining and destroying Western civilization with as much verve as their demonic spirits can draw from within them, from within their black hearts. But we are going to get off of those pages. We are going to have our own story, and a great many millions of other whites are going to leave that story and join us in ours, a much more beautiful story, a heroic story, a story that will strengthen us for all time. So thank you very much for that, Josh Randall, for the super chat. It's not weird at all. And thank you for that. I will correct you, though. From now on, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to call them Huffington Post or HuffPo or HuffPost or whatever they want to be called. We are going to call them Huffing Compost. Huffing Compost. That is what the anti-whites are doing over at that institution. They are huffing compost. And clearly, when you look at their writing, they're huffing something. So let's see. Patricia writing, "No white guilt. How important do you think art is in all of this? It seems many people turn to viewing art as an outlet, yet so many prominent artists are globalists." Well, this is what happens, Patricia. Art is extremely important. If you're able to make art of any kind, do it for white well-being. Eschew, reject all of these old memes or symbols or whatever that the anti-whites have smeared in the minds of the masses. If you love those symbols, you want to honor those symbols, do it in private. But if make art, music, sculpture, why don't we have anybody making statues, poetry, paintings? Make these things for white well-being. They will speak. If you reach down as an artist, as I have in writing Born Guilty, as I have in writing, I mean, particularly Prometheus Rising, as I have reached down into my soul, you will find that there is a common thread that runs throughout all members of Western kind, our biospirit. And you will be able to speak to every brother and sister, every mother and father, every son and daughter of our race, if you tap in to that spirit. And I assure you, you can. You have to go free. You have to clear yourself. You have to cleanse yourself of these mean pathogens. You have to, and I teach you how to do this in my book, Go Free. If you cleanse yourself of these things, the more you go free. Now, there's never a gone free. I know it might be tempting to say, but you're going free for the totality of life, because you cannot extract these things from your mind. You can only negate them. If you negate enough of them, you will gain access to what I was able to access in writing Born Guilty and writing Prometheus Rising. So I could read some portions here. Maybe I will at some point while we're on the stream. But we're already into the stream quite a little way, and I'll consider it. But if you do this, as I say, I want to reiterate, as an artist, go free, work on cleansing yourselves, on treating yourselves for these meme pathogens. Treat yourself enough, go free for long enough, and you will find that you have access to something truly mystical. All of these people who have the crystals and the damn dream catchers, and that is almost, I can't imagine a scenario where that is legit. But I will tell you, there is real magic in this world, and you can tap into it. There is something unique and powerful about our people, a great and deep river that runs through our souls. And that is why we have accomplished so many magnificent things throughout history. Why do we not accomplish them today in the same numbers, even though we have a population far larger than we did at these other times? It's because you have been crippled with meme pathogens. I am not saying that you need to treat these things as a throwaway statement. I'm not saying that you can be healthier and smarter and more spiritual by treating these things as a throwaway statement. I am saying it as serious as life and death. You will gain a great power by going through the process and committing yourself to go free. So let's see what else we have. That was a great. Patricia, thank you very much for that. And just to say, when it comes to artists generally, it's not that artists are anti-white, generally speaking. It's that artists are starving. That's where the saying starving artist comes from. Artists are starving. When they get an opportunity to get paid for what they do, it is almost always anti-white entities that say, we will pay you. You've never, and so it's not just they're going to get food. It's not just they're going to be able to not have to live in the cardboard box that they fear, that they see these pup tents going up all over the cities, all over this country, filled with white people. Because for every diversity hire, there has to be a diversity fire. Not only that, but they finally get to be noticed for their efforts as artists. And so when these anti-white bastards come along with the money, and they say, just make us another anti-white song, make us another anti-white painting, make us another this, make us, as long as it's anti-white, you'll get paid. That's why you see so much art come out of anti-whiteism, not because those people are talented. You could take every actor and actress, for example, and ship them to the moon, and then everyone that fills their ranks, ship them to the moon, and do that 200 times, do that 2,000 times, and you would still have actors and actresses as good, if not better, than anything you have ever seen before. You can do the same thing with musicians. You can do the same thing. If you study how the whole concept of a celebrity or a star was created, then you'll realize that these things aren't anomalies that people should worship. No, they're tools to make their handlers wealthy beyond all imagination. So let's see. I saw a couple super chats. I don't want to miss any. I saw them drop off. I'm going to jump back up. If I have to, I'll jump over to the other screen. I may well, yes. Looks like Miss Horse super chatting $9.99. Thank you for all that you do. Blood of my blood. Well, thank you very much, Miss Horse. That is very kind of you. And I thank you back for all of your kind contributions to the cause of white well-being. Folks, we're going to get into the news here in just a minute. And thank you very much for super chatting $9.99. Of course, in the name of Eyes on the Right, the pathetic, talentless typist over at Angry White Men, who has taken upon himself to take the job and try to ruin the lives of those who merely care about white people, who aren't hurting non-white people at all. There is no animus against non-white people. In fact, non-white people, homosexual people, all people are welcome in the cause for white well-being. All you have to do is support white well-being, and you're welcome. So these ideas that it's about harming a group, or all of these fantasies, these intentional lies that are told about us, none of that is true here in the cause for white well-being. Josh Randall super chatting another $5. Thank you very much, good sir. I always refer to Huffington Post as Hufflepuff. that's pretty good. I like that too. Hufflepuff, he says, is a Harry Potter reference. Actually, it just sounded like a funny word to me, because all they write is pure fantasy. Ah, very good, very smart. I like that, Josh. Well done. Let's see. I don't want to miss anybody, so I'm going to jump over on this computer for 2 seconds. I'm going to pull up my account because I know a couple of super chats went by. I don't see them in the chat anymore. Let me just scroll and make sure they're not down here. I don't want to miss anybody. Glad to see so many of you here today. All right, we just had Casual Cruising super chat with 10 euros. Thank you very much for the kind super chat. And writing to Eyes on the Right, you'll never win. We are anti-fragile and will only grow stronger the more you punch down from your ebony tower. Ignore us and we'll grow even faster. Our path is life and beauty. Absolutely. Absolutely beautifully written. Casual Cruising. Thank you for the kind super chat and for the great words, the poetic words about white well-being. We are like if you can imagine, folks, that there is the story about the hidden garden, and there's the walls around it, and the garden has been just laying fallow, and no one has tended to it. Everything is grown over with weeds. The beautiful flowering plants have succumbed to the weather, to the environment, to these, as I say, these other weeds, thistle and the like growing up around them. And suddenly, in the midst of this decaying Western civilization, in the midst of this hidden garden, white roses are coming through the surface of the soil. And instead of being something that is delicate, that needs to be tended carefully by a keeper, instead of that, these roses have thorns that strike back at the weeds in their midst. A beauty with a strength that cannot be restrained. That is what we offer here in White Wellbeing. That is the purpose that you can have in your life. No more meaninglessness. No more pursuit of the next movie and the next pair of shoes or the next phone or what have you, the next handbag. No more pursuit of these meaningless things that you think, because the advertisers have done their jobs, are going to make your life whole. And then you only see moments after buying, days perhaps, you suddenly realize that it's done nothing for the hole in your heart. And that's because the hole is in your soul. You're never going to feel it. You're never going to fill that hole until you take up the cause for white well-being. The only thing that can warrant the sacrifice of your life is the thing that produced it. So thank you very much for that. Now, as I look over here to catch these super chats that I missed to find them, if you all could, like the stream, share the stream, tweet it, gab it, just take a minute, jump off and to these other platforms, share it as widely as you can. People are getting off work. They need to hear this message. We need to bring more people into the fold of love for Western kind and the recapturing of our destiny. So let me do that really quick. All right. Looks like we had super chats from Mark, $7. Thank you very much for the kind super chat and writing. Will send more when I get on my feet. Will send more when I get on my feet. Think about that. What does that tell you about Mark's dedication? My heart goes out to you, brother. Thank you very much for that. Every dollar will make a big difference. Every dollar is in the name of eyes on the right. So I really appreciate that. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. When somebody is a multi-millionaire and they give $50,000, that is not the same. That is not as meaningful as somebody like Mark, somebody like all of you, giving the dollars that you can spare, giving the dollars that you can't spare. Those multimillionaires, those even billionaires that support these anti-white organizations and entities, the amount that they give is a pittance compared to the amount that they have. They're not nearly as dedicated as we are, and that is why we will win. So thank you very much for that, Mark. A big salute to you. Everybody, if we could, to Mark and everybody who knows, you know yourself out there, if you have donated, if you have invested in the cause of white well-being and you had to go without something, it was a meaningful, even no matter how small that sum was, a big round of applause and a big heartfelt thank you from all of us to all of you. Thank you very much for that. Let me see. We had, I read the Miss Horse. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for all that you do. Blood of my blood. I read that. We have Penguin super chatting $5 and not writing anything, but a big thank you for that kind super chat. In the name again of Eyes on the Right. What a champion that anti-white has turned out to be for white well-being. We have Paul super chatting twice, each time $1. Thank you very much for those kind super chats. In the name of Eyes on the Right, perhaps $1 for each of his eyes, and investment in the cause of white well-being. Thank you very much, Paul. So I want to make sure, and if you all, as I say before, thank you, Kelby, for, and thank you, Sifu. Thank you all, everybody. Racial Consciousness is here, folks. Good to see you, brother. Gregory is here. Thank you all. Laurel, thank you as well for applauding everyone who has given when they had to go without something. Everyone who has sacrificed and has had to go without something as a result. Everyone who has, when you had to, let me see, maybe even I'm thinking about specific instances where I know of myself, where I've gone without things and put the money instead into the cause of white well-being. Many times. I know that many times I have had to do things and instead I gave my time and my efforts to the cause of white well-being. I know there are many of you out there doing the exact same, and I salute you all for those efforts. And I thank everyone in the audience who has put up some clapping emojis and thank yous as well. You are not working in vain. We can feel your sacrifices. We can feel your efforts. And remember, it is the ones that are truly valuable, the efforts that are truly meaningful to you, at least I think to all sane and good, healthy people, are the efforts and the sacrifices that we make when no one else will even ever know. Those are the most meaningful. Those are the ones that I've taken the most pride in. When I've helped things come to fruition for white well-being and no one knew that I was participating in that and making that happen. I was the only one. And that will be in my grave when that day comes. There'll be a smile from ear to ear for all the good that I know that I invested in our people throughout the cause of my life. And you will have the same. I promise you. You won't get to the end of your life and have a life of regrets, a life of hollow prizes and gifts and movies that you've watched and restaurant openings in your final days. As I said in the previous stream, going free stream, it's going to be the things you did that were meaningful, and it's also going to be the things that you failed to do that are going to harm you and hurt you in those closing days. It's also going to be those painful things, those regrets. Don't have those regrets. Make up for lost time now. It's not over till it's over. Art Deco writing, no white guilt. I'm goddamn proud of you. Well, thank you very much for that. I can't thank you and you all enough for the great things that we're doing here, and the sharing of those sentiments is very meaningful to me. JT Smith, well said, Jason. Very good work. Thank you for that. Eke Lux, a great supporter. I just popped in to say hello. Thank you for being you, and thank you for your work. Well, thank you for popping in. Cheers in response from Virginia, my good friend. Racial consciousness is a great example of someone who is steadily at work on Twitter, has built up a huge audience, and we thank him for the efforts that he makes for white well-being. I wish I could speak to every single one of you and all of the efforts that you're making. I know that you all are doing your damnedest, and I am grateful for all of it. Janish writing, have you read The Clash of Civilizations? I have not. I will take a look at it, though. Or if I did, it's not coming to mind. How long? That suddenly sounds familiar. Maybe, perhaps it was a long time ago. NK saying, very well said, Jason. Rachel saying, respect for all you do. Thank you, in a heart. Much love in return, Rachel. I appreciate that. Thank you. Big thank you to Phoenix Fire and Spartan Warrior Queen for moderating today. We don't normally get as many attacks as some of the other channels, but when we do, we have the best moderators in the business. And I cannot sing their hosannas enough. Both are magnificent people. Both are untiring workers for white well-being. Daniel writing thank you to me. Racial consciousness. It's been an honor to serve the pro-white cause for the last 17 years. I only wish I was capable of doing so much more. Very well said. And I think all of the best folks in the white positive sphere say words like that. RC. They say, I only wish I could do more. I've moved mountains, but I wish I could do more. And that is the kind of sentiment that we all need to have. We are the scrappy underdogs. We are the real revolution that's being made in the back of the restaurant, that's being made in the inelegant basement under the pub. We are the real revolution. We are not these artificial revolutions that are created by the holders of power, by the wealthy who have decided, these anti-white elites who have decided, we're going to get rid of this white race because they are too problematic to our rule, because we hate them, because et cetera, because we're jealous of their beauty, we're jealous of their health, we're jealous, et cetera, of the dignity that they have, that is bequeathed to them by this glorious history that their people have created. That, my friends, is something that so many in the white positive sphere overlook when they talk about why do they hate us so much? Why do they want to do this so much? Ladies and gentlemen, if you came from a background that had nothing but inglorious episodes throughout history, and you were in the presence of people who had these fantastic histories, these fantastic triumphs, walking on other worlds, you would hate them too. We don't have to understand or make room for their hatred of us. We don't have to empathize with it. We can, but we don't have to. All we have to do is protect ourselves from it. We don't make them the bad guy. They make themselves our victimizers. Remember that. They make themselves our victimizers. So let's see. I think I got everybody who had super chatted on YouTube that I had missed before. And we can jump into the beginning of these news stories Let's see who else we have here. Critiqued is here. Great to see you, Critiqued. He asks, where's Jared? And he's talking about the great Jared George, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know, Jared hosts a couple of shows with me. The primary one is TAP, which is an acronym for the After Party. We are going to be on tomorrow, by the way, a splendid guest. And we're going to be going into some of this esoteric nature of some of the things I was talking about earlier. A woman by the name of Laura Lee, who studies Lord of the Rings. So we're going to be talking about that with her. And we're going to be starting at 5 to 7 Eastern Standard Time. To answer your question, Critiqued, Jared is not a regular participant in the Going Free streams, but he is going to be making regular appearances on these streams, particularly when we go deep into things like Prometheus Rising, which is going to be a topic we will cover at some length on a continual basis on the Going Free streams. Now, remember, everybody, I'm going to say it again before we get started on the news, that all of your super chats today are in the name of Eyes on the Right, an anti-white, talentless typist who works for a rag known as Angry White Men. He endeavors regularly with his articles to destroy the lives, to smear the characters, to misrepresent those who care about white well-being to the general public, so that those people will get ostracized from their families, so that other white people will shun them, so that they will get fired from their jobs, so that all things horrible, even the violent anti-whites, can come after them, find out who they are, come after them to physically harm them. That is what Eyes on the Right is responsible for doing. A very sick endeavor, I must say, especially for people who are seeking harm on none, who just want dignity for our own people, who want to serve our well-being. Every other group of people has many thousands of groups in total serving their well-being. We're fine with that. We are going to serve our well-being. And if you have a problem with that, then it's your problem, not ours. We are the healthy ones. You are the only unhealthy one in that equation. So because Eyes on the Right decided to make a hit piece specifically about yours truly, I have decided that today every dollar raised for white well-being is in his name. God bless his little heart, little buttercup. Every dollar is in his name. And so far, we have had some fabulous, every super chat is fabulous, they've all been in his name, but we've had some very large one in his name, and he has raised a great deal of money for white well-being. And as I said, I am very adept at making a dollar go a mile. So everything that he has raised is going to do great work for white well-being. I wonder if his employer knows all the money that he is bringing to the cause of white well-being. Penguins, again, super chatting, earlier having super chatted on the Familiar Alternative, this time on YouTube, $5. Thank you very much, Penguin. Lovely little animals. And writing, I am a fan of binocular vision, and having a little an owl emoji. Well, thank you very much. Owls are lovely little, well, some of them are actually quite big. Great horned owl is a large animal. But I am an animal lover, so I take pride. In fact, we are going to be doing a show in the near future, on animal rescue. And if it's possible, maybe I'll have some video to run of me at a shelter helping with rescued animals. And oh no, that doesn't fit the stereotype of what a person is who cares about white well-being. Somebody who loves animals and who cares for injured and abused animals. But this is reality. This isn't the Hollywood. Remember, Hollywood isn't history. That's a meme curative, ladies and gentlemen. When the people you're talking to says, but in this movie, but on that TV show. I actually had somebody, and I went and looked this up years ago, said it was a CSI. This is what it was. CSI. This is some kind of crime show where they go and they like dig corpses up or something of this nature. You all probably know of it far better than I do. And on this CSI episode, there was a Nazi character who was in a basement, and he was, cooking up innocent non-white people and all of this crazy non-white, anti-white propaganda. And I actually had a person, this is why I ended up looking this up and seeing this particular scene, saying, that's out there because I saw this on this episode. There are these Nazis in their basements and they have all these diabolical. This was an adult, or at least seem. I mean, we know that these adults are coming to age, neotness now, where their juvenile traits have followed them into adulthood. So when somebody says something like this, use the meme curative, the MC. This is from Going Free. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to this, that Hollywood isn't history. Just shut them up. Hollywood isn't history, you imbecile. They say something that dumb, you can tack on, you imbecile, because they deserve it. Okay, Robert, super chatting $10, not writing anything, but of course, every penny in the name of Eyes on the Right. Thank you so much. And be sure, everyone, when you do, everyone listening, when somebody super chats today for Eyes on the Right, in the name of Eyes on the Right, be sure that you give somewhere in your space, pointed toward maybe the DC area, depending on where you are in the world, because I believe that is where Eyes on the Right, at least purportedly, is located. So point a finger to Eyes on the Right. Just make sure to give him that finger every time a donation comes in. Timothy Barron. It's kind of a strong name, isn't it? $14.88. Thank you very much for that kind super chat, Timothy. All actions have consequences. Even the smallest act can have a greater effect when we realize in the moment. Then we realize in the moment. So let this be the snowflake that initiates the avalanche of our victory. Hail victory. Very well said. I love it. Very poetic. Great super chat in the name of Eyes on the Right. Indeed, folks, I will say it again and again. You may have one contact in your life with an with a regular person, a stranger on the street, with a family member, with a friend or whatever, where you say something, where you introduce something about going free. And then that one contact causes that person to go deeper, to begin going free, him or herself. That passes on to someone else. You never know. You might be responsible for the next Andrew Jackson. Your little touch, your little offer of help, your hand that you give to one of our brothers or sisters out there in the world might pick one of them up out of the gutter. And then they go on to influence another, and maybe another, maybe a woman who then gives birth to the next great hero of our people, somebody who cleanses the earth with a righteous, I would say flame, but in honor of Timothy, we will say a righteous snowfall. So let's see what else we have here today. And we have to get started on this news. We're having an absolutely great stream. I could not be prouder of you all coming here, going free, reading Born Guilty, getting the book Go Free. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make the second edition. As I say, it's getting closer to being finished. It's much bigger. It's filled with much more information. We're going to make this available as an ebook. We're going to make it as cheap as possible so that you all can get it. You can read it. We have some people donating as well, so that some of you who are impecunious can get access to these books who otherwise would not be able to hold this material. And of course, I'm going to be making as many of these things into ebooks, because I know that a lot of you, we shoulder the tax burdens. It's on our shoulders. We have to go to work. Some of us 10 hours a day are working, and you're tacking driving time on top of that, because we have to move further and further away, this white flight, so that we can get away from these environments where the non-whites, whether they're good people, whether they're great people, or whether they're bad people, they are now projecting their biospirits onto the environment and creating places that are uncomfortable to us. And of course, eventually that discomfort leads to victimization. It always has throughout human history. If you want to argue, it's not with me, it's with reality. So if you have an argument, if you're listening to this and you're anti-white, or you're on the fence, or you're vague, or what have you, you don't know, You have an argument, go make it with reality. It's not with no white guilt. This has never been done. I've seen these prissy, anti-white, smug dirtbags get their feathers ruffled about reality. I couldn't give a damn. I couldn't give a damn. I walk away laughing. And then, I walk away laughing because I know that for as much of a front they put on, that they are so righteously offended. And you, no white guilt, are so terribly wrong. For as much of a front as they put on, they know that I'm right. They know that we're right. Because when it comes time to move, they don't move to the ghetto. They don't move. When they talk about even these idiots, these movie stars, celebrities, musicians, and the like, politicians, when they talk about this country or that country is becoming so nationalistic and enter any anti-white slur you want to use. I won't use them, but go ahead and fill the blank with those. I'm going to move to Canada, or I'm going to move to Sweden. It's never, and when they move to those countries, they don't move to the non-white section. No, they move to the whitest area. Everybody knows this. So just laugh when their feathers get ruffled. We know the truth. Randomness, super chatting $1.99 in the name of Eyes on the Right. Going free here in Virginia. Great to see a fellow Virginian in the chat. Thank you very much for the kind super chat, the investment in the cause, and doing this, making that investment in the name of Eyes on the Right. Thank God Eyes on the Right raises so much money for the cause of white well-being. Just keep smearing us, guys. Keep smearing us, and we'll keep raising big money in your names. And here's the thing that's going to really hurt Eyes on the Right and all of you other anti-white, talentless typists and news readers on the television. Here's what's really going to hurt. I make every dollar go miles. None of them go to my needs. None of these dollars go to my needs. At some point, we may reach, I would like to reach this point where I have an organizational entity and we have enough money coming in that it's money that I can actually take a salary and use for a living. At some point, that would be fantastic. But for right now, all of it goes to just magnifying the message. So not even a single slice of ham is going to come out of the funds raised here today. It's all going to white well-being. And I couldn't be happier. So what are we going to discuss about the news, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to do some learning today. We're going to get into this. I want you all to be stronger. Hail victory to you all. I'm seeing that in the chat. Absolutely. Let's see really quick. Sin526 says, keep pushing about something. Andre, great to see you, brother. Gregory is here. Let's see. Annie writes, thank you for your efforts for white well-being. You are most humbly welcome. Thank you for the kind sentiment, Annie. Pamela. Wait, I just lost. Everything just went off my screen, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to come back. Pamela, could you write that again? I lost a block of my text. The last text I see is Blue Dog, something about Canada. And then Gregory writing, great comment, no white guilt. Does anybody know what Pamela was talking about? Can they clue me in? Sin526. Writing directed at our friends at Eyes on the Right. Very wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Let me refresh this. Does anybody know if Entropy is working? Is there a video playing on Entropy? Can you log in via the... Let's see. I see nothing. Now, there was a video playing. Let's see what this is. 1 second. And we're going to get into the news. All right. No. I will go through the process again as they showed me, and perhaps this time it's either me And it's either the operator or it is the software or the computer, let me just say. Let us see. Okay, could somebody go log into the entropy link that should be right at the very top of the description if you have signed up to entropy, and just let me know if it is working yet. The screen looks like it might be working now, but we shall see. If you super chat over on entropy, you are super chatting at 15%, which is better than YouTube's 30%. And let me know if it is working. You can also ask questions over on entropy if it works this time, but we're going to get into these stories as well while we do this. The first story that I want to discuss today is the very horrific and I'm not going to say tragic, because this is not like it's some sort of accident. Antifa, $14.90 super chat over here on YouTube. Thank you very much. And writing my 2 cents for the great work. Thank you very much for that. More than 2 cents, $14.90. Thank you, Antifa. Seaver writing that entropy is up now. It appears to be working. If you made a super chat donation over on entropy before now, then let me know in the chat here on YouTube by tagging me, and I will go back and look for it. Sindrofen, great to see you. I admire your stamina and that you keep going. 2 hours. I could not do that. I'm too introverted. Has it been 2 hours since we've started? I have limitless energy for the cause of white well-being, ladies and gentlemen. So we have some interesting things coming up toward the end of the show. So don't go anywhere. Even if you're sleepy, we have some very interesting things. In fact, I will go ahead and tempt you all now with what we might have here. We have here, ladies and gentlemen, we have here, this is the back of 2 pictures. One of them is a little bit more realistic looking picture of eyes on the right. And the other is a little bit of a funnier picture of eyes on the right. I'm going to reveal one of these before the end of the show. We'll see. I'm thinking about which one to reveal. But remember that every dollar here raised for white well-being today, for spreading this message to as many white people as possible, is in the name of Eyes on the Right, the individual who decided to single me out for a smear piece. This is how we respond to them when people like Eyes on the Right do such things. Well, looky here, Raymond super chatting $3 US dollars over on entropy. Would do more, but I have 4 white babies to feed. Thank you for all you do. Raymond, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for that investment, good sir. And thank you even more for producing 4 beautiful white children that I know you are raising to love our people, a history, and our destiny. So thank you so much for that. This is what we need, is the heart of our cause, is these heartbeats of living families, raising their children in love for our cause. All right, who else do we have here? Gregory also saying that entropy is working fine. It does seem to be working over on my end now. Perhaps it was the Perhaps the issue, if you all were able to get on Entropy, perhaps the issue was somehow with my computer. I followed the same steps I followed the previous time or times, and it didn't work those times, but it is working now. It's up and working. It's looking beautiful. You can pose questions there as well. I'm not going to have a poll since I'm the only one here. You can donate there, and you can also watch the stream there. In the future, we might do call-in shows specifically on entropy. We shall see. So we had this brutal slaying of this Mackenzie Lewick. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, Mackenzie Lewick. Have you all heard about the brutal slaying of this young white woman? We have to assume, as we would with all people that we don't know anything specifically about, that she was a fabulous person, that she would have served white well-being, that she would have brought wonderful, healthy, proud white children into the world who would have served our communities, been a boon to us, and they're a blessing to their and our heritage and their descendants. But she's not going to be able to have that life. Her mother and father are not going to be able to plan her wedding. Her mother is not going to be able to beam with pride as she and Mackenzie look through wedding gowns. Their mother and father are not going to be able to burst with love when they see their little girl graduate from college, when they sit in the pews as she gets married, when they sit on the edges of their seats at the hospital waiting for their first grandchild to be born. They have been robbed of all of that, and we have been robbed of all of that because, alleged at this point, although the evidence is damning, a non-white individual from Africa, Ayoola Ajayi, was permitted to enter this country on a student visa, an individual who would have been lauded by conservatives, Republicans, CivNat imbeciles, because he is an example of a merit-based immigrant. His friends described Ajayi as intelligent and a techie, and he had come in on a student visa to learn about all of the science that the white race has invented, discovered, invested our time, blood, and treasure in. And now, because our leadership has been decapitated and we are now led by anti-whites, all of that investment, all of that treasure and knowledge and genius and time invested is now being pissed away to any murderer or any good person from someplace else in the world who just wants to come and take the knowledge. It's just there for the taking because our leadership has been decapitated. And this Ajayi is someone that President Trump would have said, we need more of these. Indeed, Ajayi is probably on the right side of his people's bell curve. He's probably a very bright individual to come in on the student visa to work to study as a student and to work in the tech field. And what does he do? Allegedly, according to law enforcement. Well, first of all, I'll just go ahead and say and finish this. If he is guilty, or let me rephrase that, he is alleged to have abducted Mackenzie when she arrived back home after a trip to Georgia, and potentially he could have worked for a company that she may have contracted with to ferry her from point A to point B, or there could have been some other intersection point, but he is alleged to have kidnapped her. The indictment, it does not say anything about, or the charges do not say anything about rape yet, but you damn well good know that he raped the hell out of her. If he is the individual who committed this crime, he is alleged by law enforcement that she was abducted, she was brutally raped. Those moments of terror when she realized, put that in your mind. Don't talk to me about how the immigrant feels who's guilty of the crime. If this is the person who's guilty of the crime, don't talk to me about how he feels. Don't talk to me about his customs. I don't give a damn about his customs. Don't talk to me about what he thinks is normal or what he thinks is acceptable or what he just wanted and then it became something worse. Talk to me about the horror in her heart when she was abducted and all of her life flashed before her eyes. All of the fear of what was going to happen to her, the helplessness. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about what it felt like when her head was yanked by her hair, when she was punched in the face, when that hand throttled her throat. Talk to me about that. Abducted, dragged, promised probably freedom if she complied, beaten, raped. And then, because the life of a white woman, because that was revenge. If it's a non-white that did this, it is automatically a hate crime. Because there isn't a non-white murderer or rapist or what have you that ever magnanimously overlooks all of what he has learned or she has learned is the evil that the white race has inflicted on him or her family and loved ones and people. None of them, not a single thief, not a single criminal maiming some white person or raping or murdering some white person is magnanimously overlooking all of that in order to victimize a white person. No. In every case, they're thinking, this is the race. This, at this moment, is the avatar of the entire race of people that has harmed my people for millennia. That is what every single one thinks. And anyone that would tell you that a murderer or rapist isn't thinking that, is magnanimously overlooking that, is a liar and an anti-white. That is what, if this person is responsible, was thinking when he committed the crime. This is the avatar. I'm getting back. I'm going to have my way with this white woman, is what he's thinking. This is my revenge. And then he murders her. And then what does he do? And then he drags. And by the way, folks, according to the evidence that I've seen so far, her cell phone was with his cell phone. I realize it's alleged at this point that he's been charged and not convicted. His cell phone was with her cell phone. He then burns her body in his backyard, pouring gasoline, gallon of gasoline on gallon of gasoline to get rid of the evidence. And of course, that's not going to get rid of the evidence. So the police show up. Her tissue is in the tissue of the charred remains of this once lovely person who is someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's cousin. She would have been someone's beautiful wife. She would have been someone who now will never exist. She would have been their mother. That's the story that we need to talk about. Not how this piece of filth who is responsible for this, how he feels, or what he experiences, or what his customs are from where he came from. And more importantly, the lesson to take home is that this is the exemplar of what Trump, of what the Republicans, of what the conservatives, of what the civnats would cheerlead and laud every second of the day for. That this is the kind of immigration we want, as long as it's legal and as long as it's merit-based. As long as we bring in a new ruling class of right side of the bell curved non-whites, well, then it's all fine. That is what these inane, we try not to curse on this show. That is what these bastards want. So you can put all of those people in the same category of dangers to white well-being, of people with blinders on, people so blinkered they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. That is a civnat. That is a conservative and a Republican wrapped up as pithy as it can be. Somebody who doesn't know their ass from a hole in the ground. When it happens again, may God make sure it's a family member of one of these anti-whites or civnats and not an innocent person. If someone out there wants to build the dam that holds back the tidal waters, if they want to build that dam in a perfunctory way, if they want it to be shoddy, if they want it to be a weak job, then let's make sure that it's their family who lives at the foot of that dam. Don't let them go live at the heights. No, when they want that dam to be built in a perfunctory way, let's make sure they live right at the foot. So when that thing gives out, the people who are responsible are the ones who suffer their decisions, not the innocent. Don't let it be my family and your family, my friends and your friends. God in heaven, don't let it be ours, because we are the people that want the most robust dam the world has ever seen, the highest dam that the world has ever seen. Don't let it be our members, our innocent people who get harmed by these decisions. Let it be the ones who asked for this. So let me ask all of you, let me look at what you all are saying in the chat. I saw the chat flying by. I'm going to ask you all a question as I look at the chat. This Ajayi was referred to in the regime's media as uniformly as a Utah man, or he was also referred to as a Salt Lake City man. Why? They had his name. He had been charged. Why are they referring to him as a Utah man and a Salt Lake City man? RC writes, if we're being completely honest, the importation of third world non-whites is warfare against white people. These non-whites do nothing good for white people. They only harm. Thank you very much, RC, for saying that. Certainly, bringing in non-white people in general is going to change the racial makeup. And as their numbers get high enough, they project their biospirits onto our environments, which unalterably sullies those environments and makes them things that are uncomfortable to us. And of course, they become violent as a consequence. This is the way it has always worked in history, and it always will work this way. These can be the best people. They can be the most moral people. They can be the most caring. They can be better workers, smarter. They can be everything. So what? I don't want to give up who and what we are. I don't care if they don't break a single law. I don't care if they're nicer. I don't care. I am not going to endorse white erasure. This country, any country, is not about what's best for the profits of businessmen and women and anti-white revenge porn fantasies or jealousy porn fantasies over white people. That's not what this is about. This is about the welfare of the people who created the countries, the welfare of the people who are the only people who can sustain the countries as they are. If we all left the United States, all white people left the United States like this, it wouldn't be a Western country anymore. And everyone knows that to be true. So why does the media refer to this man as a Jai, as a Utah man or Salt Lake City man? Does anybody have any thoughts? I know you all know. I see a lot of people agreeing with me, agreeing with RC. Okay, RC writing, we all know why. They want to make him appear white. They want to make it seem like it wasn't a non-white immigrant. It's more of their psychological parlor tricks. Exactly. Well said, good sir. What's happening there is that the murder doesn't fit the anti-white narrative. This is how the anti-whites view all things. They have a very specific anti-white lens. They view the world. If something, anything takes place in the world that undermines, contradicts, or conflicts with the anti-white narrative, they quarantine the story as best as possible. In the old days, it used to be very easy before the internet, before peer-to-peer communication. In the old days, they would quarantine it just to the city. Only the local news would say it. Nowhere else would it be said. They bury it underfoot. If it contradicts the anti-white narrative or disproves it, it gets buried underfoot. If they can lie, if they can make a story seem like it supports or bolsters the anti-white narrative, they write it in the sky. They write it in the sky for everyone to see, and it circles the globe 2 times before you can put your shoes on. So they want to mislead you. That's why they're calling him a Utah man or Salt Lake City man. When they don't mention the race of the murderer, he or she is almost always non-white. Why is that? Again, because it contradicts the anti-white narrative. What does the anti-white narrative state? Simply, non-whites are the long-suffering, wrongly put upon, begging for a piece of equality from the jackbooted, cruel, taskmaster, martinet white race who's holding them down and persecuting them and victimizing these innocent non-whites. You cannot have actual events contradicting your bogus narrative. That is why when the news, when the anti-white regime, news and entertainment media talks about crimes, talks about any events that contradict the anti-white narrative where the bad actor is non-white, that's why suddenly it becomes youths. Suddenly it becomes juveniles. Suddenly it becomes a Salt Lake City man or a man from New York. Suddenly it becomes anything but non-white because that contradicts. And you know, when a white person kills or murders someone or does something that is otherwise condemned, immoral, negative, what have you, they mention the race every single time. They show you the picture every single time. Why? Because that conforms to the anti-white narrative. Ladies and gentlemen, this is critical to understand in this way. It's not enough to just say, well, this anti-white does this because it's just he doesn't want to reveal that. None of this other stuff. You have to understand that they have a very specific narrative, the anti-white narrative. That's the narrative that governs Western civilization. That is the narrative that they will punish you by if you commit an act of heresy. They cannot have anything in the real world undermining their fantasy, their jealousy porn fantasy of destroying Western civilization. So when it does, you now will know. You know there's an anti-white narrative. You know there's a story that they're going to do what with reality? They're going to mold reality too. Is this making sense? The same way they write a script for television, the same way they make a movie, the same way they make a commercial, they do with reality. They ignore the things that happen as best they can. And if it can't be ignored, they do everything they can to play it down, to whitewash it, to diminish it, to blame it on whites some other way, to prevent it from coming to your notice, to prevent the broader white population around the world from knowing about it. I have met white people in America that say, really, I just looked at the statistics for the first time about non-white criminality in New Zealand, and it's the same as ours. No, Sierra. What a surprise. They don't know because it's not shared, because it's suppressed. And of course, many of you know that goes by news. I mean, history is even tabloid journalism now. What flies by as news today is nothing but fiction writers taking bits of actual events and either bending them, deleting them, or creating new events out of whole cloth, new statements out of whole cloth. We see it time and again so that the stories can conform to the anti-white narrative. I've had bets with people before to help bring them over the years. I've been talking with folks and we pull up news and I say, okay, look, they're not saying the race of the person in this story. They're not saying whether it's a white or a non-white person. I will bet you, I have betted, these are actual bets I've made. I will bet you $20 that it's non-white person because they didn't mention the race in the story. Almost every single time, not every single time they pay out, because a lot of people really have no character, but almost every single time where people have taken the bet, 99.9% of the time that they've taken the bet and all I've had is the initial story to look at, I have won. If they don't say the race, how am I winning? Do I have a phone call to psychic friends? Or am I just using a template of reality that I can apply over every single scenario and works again and again and again? Just like mathematics, it explains why a rocket does what it does. And then our scientists can use those formulas to create the next rocket, the better rocket, the next plane, the next missile. It's the exact same thing, ladies and gentlemen. That's how I'm right time and again. That's how I won those bets every single time, almost every single time. I think there was only a couple times where it was just like it wasn't even a full story. I went ahead and bet on a headline and the byline under it. So that is what. Now, if anybody else has anything to say about Mackenzie Lewick, please say it now. If you have any comments to make about what's going on, what happened with her family, any prayers for her. We have Elizabeth Holmes super chatting $2. Thank you very much. Writing, race is clearly a social construct. Calm down. Thank you for the laugh, Elizabeth. $2 in the name of eyes on the right. And you know what? If an anti-white ever says to you all that race is a construct, don't bother getting into a long debate about, no, it's look at this data here, look at that data there. Don't debate all that garbage. Just say, okay, it's a construct. And now we are white people. We're constructing this racial construct that we are white people, and we're going to survive. Would you deny the right to survival to the racial construct of black people? Would you deny the right to well-being to the construct of Hispanic people? Would you deny the right? And of course, they're going to say no. And so then you say, well, of course, then thank you for endorsing that the right to well-being for the social construct of white people. Thank you very much for that. Because this is what my dialectics do, ladies and gentlemen. They force the anti-white to either retreat from the conversation, which they often will do, or come clean about how anti-white they are, that they really mean to inflict harm. And in that scenario, if an anti-white means to inflict harm, they damn well will say, no, for all those groups, it's okay, but for you, it's not okay. And then you know what you're dealing with. Yeah, I mean, you are dealing with a genocidal maniac. And how much longer are you going to talk to them? Move on beyond them. Get to somebody you can reach with this message of love and hope for our people. No more Mackenzies. No more Mackenzies. Mackenzie, Mackenzie's death, her gruesome rape and murder and the torture of her body. And by the way, Ajayi is also charged with somehow inhibiting the police from doing their work, the SWAT team from doing their work. So this is, if all of these things turned out to be conviction, Class A character. But I've no doubt that Miss Lueck, 23 years old, she was in the bloom of her life, people. Can you not feel the blood spilling from her body? Can you not feel that the white haze of death coming over her consciousness? Make no mistake that Miss Lueck, in her youth, was exposed to anti-white propaganda, what we refer to as meme pathogens, that taught her that no matter what her gut says about non-white people, whether the person she's looking at is an actual good person or not, or a very dangerous person, she was taught to believe that it was wrong, evil, in fact, to ever think anything negative about a non-white person, and that, in fact, external factors, signs that perhaps Ajayi gave to her that should have told her this is a dangerous person, that in fact she had learned that these are misleading and it's evil for me to read them as something dangerous. And Ajayi, probably like all of those cartoons I watched, all of those movies and shows I watched, all of those classrooms I attended, he probably, as I've been taught, has a heart of gold. She probably thought to herself, I'm just being racist, one of these anti-white slurs. I'm just being evil by thinking anything ill of him. He's probably much better than the white men that I associate with. That is almost assuredly what went through her mind if she had the moment to make those decisions, if she wasn't taken by surprise. So we have some super chats that are coming in. Pamela, super chatting again, $20. I've got to say, so long for now. Catch up later. Good show. $20. Thank you, Pamela. To the cause of white well-being in the name of Eyes on the Right. Ursa Major, super chatting with $10. Thank you very much. A great super chat in the name of Eyes on the Right as well. Not writing anything, but thank you very much for the kind super chat. I thought I might have had another super chat that snuck on by. Let's see. I did. JT Smith, 101. Respect you, Jason. Love to you, mate from England. Much love in return. £5. Thank you very much for that kind super chat. £5, by the way, in the name of Eyes on the Right. Amanda Scott, they do the same in UK, always trying to pretend it's a local person. That is Amanda's talking. Thank you very much for that, Amanda. JT Smith writing exactly in response to what Amanda had to say. Indeed, They do the exact same thing all over the West when it is someone who they have brought in from some foreign land who commits some sort of a heinous act. That person suddenly becomes an anonymous citizen of a town or an anonymous citizen of a local city. So thank you very much for those kind super chats. We have to also thank Eyes on the Right, that wretched anti-white, pathetic typist, for bringing in all of these dollars for white well-being. A great many wonderful super chats from a great many good people. I am proud of you all. I want to get on to, if there's nothing more to say, if nobody else has anything else to say about poor Miss Lewick, my heart goes out to her memory, her family, her mother and father, brothers or sisters that she has, her friends that cared about her. I expect that you all, if you hear about my condolence and condoling with you all, that you all will be deathly afraid that the regime will punish you for heresy. And so you will condemn me and condemn those in the white positive sphere for our condolences. And I forgive you for that. I know you are terrified of the regime. I know that you have witnessed what they do and how they destroy people's lives. So I forgive you even now as you nail us to the cross for caring about the loss of your loved one. So let's talk about Antifa. Patrick Henry says, it breaks my heart that Mackenzie was killed, but even more that everyone is silent about it. Indeed, it is a hush crime, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we call every crime, or it doesn't have to be just the breaking of a law. It can be a code that has been breached or something of this nature. You can use this meme curative MC and use it loud, use it proud, use it again and again. Ask people. This is a way, earlier in the conversation, we had someone ask about, how do we advance this cause? How do we help people go free when we fear the loss of our job, our families, etc.? This is a great way. You can say to them, have you heard about Mackenzie Lewick? She was brutally raped, slain, and set on fire, her body desecrated. Have you heard about that? When they say no, you can say, well, you probably didn't, because it's a hush crime. Using the meme curative hush crime is magnificently powerful because, again, it presupposes, as the premise in the argument, the reality that the anti-whites are in charge, not white people who are benefiting whites. Anti-whites of every race, every religion are in charge, and everything they do is to our detriment. So you can say it's a hush crime. Those who are in charge, those who are in the news and entertainment media for the regime, they don't want you to know about it. If you are in a really precarious situation and the person says to you, why wouldn't they want people to know? You could say, I don't know. Maybe it's because the victim is white and the victimizer is non-white. I'm just not sure. You can shrug these things off like that. I've used that 1,000 times, if once. You can shrug it off and walk away. That way you have plausible deniability. If your boss calls you in and says, the other person, the other employee said that you said maybe it was because, you could say, yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's because she's white and because he's non-white. I'm not sure. You're not guilty of anything then. That is a powerful tool. And if you're hearing this now live or in replay, use it, hush crime, shrug it off, and then come back and give your testimony about how successful it was. I promise it will work. It's worked for me. It's worked for everybody I've shared it with. So let me check this really quick. See what's happening over on. Okay, if you're over on Entropy, it looks like we have, if it's working right now, we have 14 people logged into Entropy. Watching over there, you can pose questions over there. You can super chat over there. All super chats today are in the name of Eyes on the Right, who writes for the discredited anti-white rag known as Angry White Men, and whose job it is, who relishes every day, obviously, to destroy the lives of those who want nothing more than the well-being of white people, just like there are Jews who want the well-being of Jews, blacks who want the well-being of blacks. I'm a white person who wants the well-being of white people. You all are whites, you're some non-whites mixed in, you're heterosexual, you're homosexual, and you all listening live or in replay, you care about white well-being as well. And we are not going to be intimidated or destroyed or run off by these efforts to refashion as a misrepresentation for the eyes of the masses, our love as something other, as something ugly. You're not going to be able to do it, Eyes on the Right. And in your name, as a response to your effort to smear me and the cause of white well-being, we have raised a great many dollars to the cause of white well-being. In fact, I want you, Eyes on the Right, to go through this entire stream and add them all up. And I want you to weep over that number. Gregory Hart writes, are you on Telegram? I keep missing the beginning of your streams. I am, but I have never advertised on the stream ahead of time on Telegram. Perhaps I should start doing that. If you are over there and you think that others will be there. Patrick Henry says, I fear only God. The regime can beat, break, and kill me, but they'll never get me to bend the knee, and they'll never take my immortal soul. Amen to that. And in that immortal soul, my good friend Patrick Henry, is your pride and your dignity, who and what you really are. Never allow them, the anti-whites, this regime, to sully that, who and what you are. They can call you by many names, my brothers and sisters. They can call us by many names, but the only name that matters is the one you answer to. And that is a hero of Western kind, an advocate of white well-being. All right. Throat is getting, how are we doing out there? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, are we still doing good? I noticed as a silly story that looked like, was it Nike who was going to put the Betsy Ross flag? Who was it? Can somebody tell me? Was it Nike who was going to put the Betsy Ross flag on a shoe? Or was it some other shoe company? I believe I heard it was Nike. I could be wrong. But then some loser, some washed up loser by the name of Kaepernick decided that he was going to object to the Betsy Ross flag being on Nike. And I guess Nike, being anti-white, made the foolish decision to sign this washed up loser of an athlete, only hired because the NFL has just this absolute love affair, this absolute desire to have non-white quarterbacks. And it's been that way for years. I predicted it at a time when everyone said, no, that's never going to happen. The NFL is not going to be composed mostly of non-white quarterbacks. I predicted it back then. And now, unfortunately, so many people don't have any dignity, and they won't say, you know what, Jason, you're right. Sorry about that. I don't know what. You gain so much power just by taking the right position. I've done it my whole life. If RC figures something out that I've got wrong, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to adopt his position. That's what I'm going to do. So, anyhow, is that true? Did that really happen? Did Nike decide not to produce these shoes with the Betsy Ross flag because this washed up loser by the name of Kaepernick or something like that objected to it? And let me point out the lesson that's there. There's a brief lesson there. Everything from us, every sign of us, every image of us, every statue, every street name, every holiday, every picture on a dollar bill, on a unit of currency, every single one is going to be erased in the name of anti-whiteism. Nothing is going to be left of us if we don't put an end to it. You better look by the excuse they give for this street name, and the excuse they give for this particular flag, and the excuse they give for that particular historical figure. You better stop looking at all of these pretexts and start looking at the reality that they intend absolute white erasure. And there is nothing that's going to stay their hand, certainly not their goodwill. That loser of a washed-up athlete was adopted and given a wonderful life by a white family who put him in college, who paid for his university. What more can a white family do? What more can the white race do than to coddle from cradle to grave a non-white, and he still wants white erasure? Johannes, super chatting $2. Thank you very much for the kind super chat. Writing blood and soil eternally. Thank you very much. Zandroffin, yes, advertise on Telegram. All right, I should do that next time. Looks like we've got people there. Patrick Henry saying, gotta run, folk. I'll catch the rest in replay. Yes, do come back for the rest, because toward the end, I think we're going to, or I don't know, maybe we'll see. What's the audience looking like, and how are you all feeling? Well, the audience is still looking pretty strong on my end, unless YouTube's giving me a bogus number, which who knows. But we're going to have a reveal. And then I think we'll come back and we'll read these pieces, because I have the pieces by these two anti-whites, Eyes on the Right, and I want to read, and I also have somebody by the name of some talentless typist by the name of O'Brien over at the Huffing Compost. He was huffing all day long the compost when he wrote his piece. He decided to excoriate Twitter, and this shows you, for not absolutely just cutting off the free speech of every single person who is on Twitter and who is heretical, who isn't anti-white. And this shows you how every revolution ends. They end up burning their own who are not anti-white enough. Every white person out there, if you're watching this and you're the least bit anti-white, or maybe you're a lot anti-white, the day is going to come when you're not going to be anti-white enough. Certainly as a white person, you're not only going to have to get into the back of the bus, you're not going to be allowed to ride on the bus. They'll eventually use you under the bus. And I'm not talking about blaming you for something. I'm talking about your ass as a speed bump. That's eventually what's going to happen to all of you white anti-whites. Everything white will have to go. Not just the Betsy Ross flag. Not just, and this is the same thing, when they're pulling down all of the Confederate flags across the South. It doesn't matter what it means to you who love and revere it. No, that doesn't matter. All that matters is what the anti-white regime says it is. That's all that will ever matter. Take your heads out of your asses. If you're white and anti-white, you're not going to be safe. "30-year-old boomer writes, remember the non-white Antifa chasing the white ally that he's chastising the white ally that he's inherently racist, and it's in his DNA. Yes, indeed. There are plenty of these videos out there of the non-white anti-whites disparaging the white anti-whites, and there will be more of this, and thank God there will be. Samantha Fox has just shown up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here. She writes, sorry, I'm late. Greetings. No white guilt. Phoenix Fire. Love our NWG family. Well, much love in return. Thanks. She's a great member of our community, our rapidly growing community. She's a rising star. Zendrofin saying the number on her screen is 277. Very good. Well, we are still going strong then. A Michigan Wave writing in full truth mode. Absolutely. We are not giving up here. All right, we're going to talk about Antifa. Antifa, the anti-whites. Ricky Bobby says, very well said, Jason. 30-year-old boomer writing intersectionality is disgustingly selfish belief system. They have no love. They condensed be a better ally, do better ally. For them means subordinate. Right. Be a better ally, do better ally. For them means subordinate. Yes, absolutely. And that's how they want to, very well said. That's how the anti-whites want to, and it's been obvious for a very long time. They want the inversion of all things. Everything they have said about equality and etc. This is all pretexts. None of us here are fools. Only the civnats are imbeciles. People like the civnats, the conservatives, those people are either sociopolitically immature, and they are maturing sociopolitically and will eventually be with us, or they are irretrievable because they are imbecilic. And many of them are imbecilic, as we will see with these anti-whites who don the balaclavas in Portland. We had this past weekend, I know a lot of people have been talking about this, the anti-whites in the balaclavas in Portland, because once again, they have been given carte blanche. Now, nothing is new about this. I know a lot of people are depressed about this. A lot of people are down. They're saying, good God, the regime is allowing them to do these horrific violent acts. They don't arrest them. And then if they do arrest them, if their hand is forced and they do arrest them, they overcharge them so that it's thrown out, or they undercharge them so they can plead down. They're just slapped on the wrist, if slapped at all, and they're allowed to go their own way. And we all know that that's being done on purpose. When our people get anywhere close to the law, the edge of the law, the anti-whites in the regime magnify the law, and our people go to jail for 5, 7, 8, 12, 15, 18 years of their lives for things that anti-whites would be slapped on the wrist for. And it happens time and again. So there are some things to learn. There are some things worth remembering when we look at this. First of all, we had this. The civnats were out there for whatever reason. Does anybody know? I mean, does anybody really know? Are they out there celebrating how America bleeds the colors of the rainbow? Or what other idiotic thing were these people doing? The ones who are idiotic. Most civnats leaders are the ones that are the imbeciles. Many of the followers are good people. They're in the process of maturing sociopolitically, and I welcome them to white well-being with open arms. I welcome you to come in, watch these videos if you have to, pull your blanket up over your head. I know it's going to be scary. Pull the blanket up over your head, watch the video, and come to reality, my friends. Come to reality. Things will finally click into place, and the world will make sense as soon as you begin going free. Civic nationalism is the route of the idiot, and you are being led by idiots. They can't even play the flute half a damn. Everything they're selling you, every message, and this is what I mean by playing the flute, every message that they give you is in its face idiotic. It can be reduced to some sort of idiocy that stems from a misunderstanding of human nature. It stems from a misunderstanding of the functions of government, of the functions of business, of the functions of warfare. Everything stems from incorrect deductions. So if you come away from that, you mature sociopolitically to us in the cause for white well-being, suddenly things will make sense. There'll be this big epiphany. You will have this light bulb that will go off over top of your head, and things will finally come together for you. So let's see. So yes, okay, we're seeing some people talking about the milkshakes. A couple of people have already said to me, and I'm kind of surprised because these people are bright people with long memories, that they're saying, can you believe that these anti-whites in the balaclavas, that they actually put Quikrete in the milkshakes? Yes. Yes, I can believe it. They did that at Charlottesville. Not in milkshakes, but in bottles of water. Do you all remember that now? They poured out half the water, they poured in the Quikrete, and then they threw those blocks of concrete at us. People who had come out to protest white erasure by way of the the destroying of a statue of a great Virginian. And for all of the idiots out there that say Lee fought for slavery and all this, he gave up his slaves. He gave up his position in the government. He fought for, I'm not even going to get into the actual causes of the war for Southern independence. But if you want to, if you're this stupid, if you're so blind because your head is so far up your backside that you think that all of these white symbols should be erased because in some way they can be connected to something that anti-whiteism objects to today, or that fantasizes about, is going to give you some lying fantasy about, then there's nothing that can be said to bring you out of your delusion. So back to the padded room with you. In fact, no, I invite you to move out of your lily white neighborhood and right into the ghetto. Please, right now. If you are anti-white and you're listening to me, if you don't right now live in the ghetto, you go down and live in the little barrio. You go down and live in the ghetto. You bring these non-whites into your house. You give them rooms for free. You feed them free. You give them electric free. You give all of them this free medical care, free entertainment. You give it all free, and then you can come to me and say that I should also give free. But until you do, shut your mouths. Stop voting all of my and all of the good people's stuff away so that you can virtue signal on my dollar. So that you can virtue signal by anti-white standards, by anti-white benchmarks on the blood of Mackenzie. So yes, these anti-whites with the balaclavas put Quikrete in milkshakes and threw that on people. Now, of course, not only is that going to form a stone that I think it takes 8.8 pounds of pressure per square inch to crack the human skull, if I remember that correctly, from training in the past. But certainly an airborne stone is going to have the force to break a human skull, is going to have the force to blind you, is going to have the force to knock the teeth out of your mouth, to break your jaw. And if you're a slightly enough built person, to break your neck. How far that falls, that item falls. A small woman hitting the neck, it could very easily break vertebrae. But on top of that, this is a poisonous substance. So apparently this Asian guy, who I don't know who he is, if some of you know who this Asian guy is, apparently he's the only one that's being talked about, of course, the non-white one that got injured. There were white guys, and I've seen the photos of these older white guys who are covered in blood. And this doesn't fit the anti-white narrative. We talked about that earlier. Doesn't fit the anti-white narrative, so it is a hush crime. Talk to your friends and family about that hush crime. So you heard about how those anti-whites harmed that Asian guy, but did you hear about the white guys? Well, you didn't. Well, that's a hush crime. That's probably why you didn't hear about it. So this Asian guy, he apparently was punched with brass knuckles, I think some people are saying, some reports are saying. He got this Quikrete in his face. Okay, Reed Culture writes that Civnats are radical individualists who are basically smart white anarchists. Well, smart? They don't care about their own collective being, yet they care about their individuality. Exactly, that's true. But they're certainly not smart or smarter. Perhaps you want to say smarter than the white anarchists, but they're still infinitely stupid because the individual is always going to be defeated by the group. In a land of tribes, in a world of tribes, in a world of groups, in a world of teams, the individual is always defeated. So we know that the only way to achieve individual well-being and the well-being of your family members and friends, etc., is by way of our collective well-being, individual well-being. If you wanted to undermine an enemy people, wouldn't it be brilliant to teach them all to be rabid individualists? How dumb do you have to be as a civnat to be a rabid individualist? An individualist. How dumb? These things certainly they don't just occur to me. Certainly all of you immediately realize, well, geez, if you get into a boxing ring and on one side it's one boxer and on the other side it's a team of 5 boxers, that the one boxer is going to have his ass handed to him. It's idiotic. So what can we say about the Asian guy? What state is he in? Patrick Henry says all these communist tactics have been used before. We need to look to history and modify our tactics to defeat them. Well said. RC says, gotta run. Thanks for allowing the contribution on the show in the chat box. Be sure to let everyone know that I love them, and we'll talk to everyone later. Thank you very much for that, RC. I will do that indeed. Everybody, RC loves you. So let me refresh these and see how everybody is doing. Okay, looks like my other the super chats from earlier in the show are loading onto Entropy now. Thank you all for that. We're still doing strong. Okay, Reed Culture says, yeah, he's saying that they are above the intelligence of that other group. Indeed. Well said. They are indeed a little brighter than your average anti-white white scumbag out there in the balaclava. And as I say, those civnats that are out there that are hearing this, mature sociopolitically, come to us. You sound stupid. You look stupid. You're going to get hurt. You're never going to win. You're never going to have... Look, individualism is sewn into white people. It's in our genetics. It's not going anywhere. We're not suddenly going to become this giant hive mind. We have now to overcome. We have to take strides to work together. We have to take strides to be a team and to not be individualistic. And that is what we are doing in the white positive sphere. And yet again, another reason why the anti-whites disdain us and fear our truly righteous anger and love that we hold and love that we use to motivate us and power us forward through each of these contests, that power us forward when the people at the Huffing Compost and people at Angry White Males try to smear us and get us fired from our jobs and that sort of thing. It is love that continues to motivate us. It is love that caused me to come up with the idea that all of your dollars today are in the name of Eyes on the Right, because I want Eyes on the Right to give up that awful pursuit of anti-whiteism, to stop trying to ruin people's lives. If you want to write about me, I am an advocate for white well-being. Don't use those old terms. Any of you anti-whites out there, if you want to even pretend for a moment, if you want to be fair, you're going to give it away right away if you call me by any of these other terms. I am an advocate for white well-being. I am white positive. And you can also call me no white guilt, rather than always putting my name in your articles, which you know these anti-white balaclava wearing individuals are going to be looking at your stuff. So you know those individuals are going to see the person that you've pointed to and then come and get us. And there should be legal recourse to punish you for doing that. You guys are the first ones that will say, your words are going to cause somebody to get hurt. Bravo, Sierra. It's your words, your articles that get people hurt all the time. And you damn well know it. So if you want to write about me, it's no white guilt. And I'm an advocate for white well-being. I'm white positive. What motivates no white guilt? Love for his people. He's fine with every other race serving the well-being of their people. He is just doing the same thing for his. If you want to write about me, that's what you say. Not any of this other stuff like this Huffing Compost. Maybe I'll look at his article. That's short, what he had to say, and then we'll take a look at the Eyes on the Right, maybe the next Going Free stream. But let's see what else we have here in the chat. This has been a fantastic time together, ladies and gentlemen. I have loved spending time with you all. Let's see what other, does anybody else want to say anything about what took place with the anti-whites wearing the balaclavas. We know that the police stood down. We know that the mayor is also the police chief. I think that is the case in Portland. Someone can correct me if I've stated that incorrectly, that they have told the officers to stand down. We know in Charlottesville, after the report that came out, the report done by hired by the regime, they ended up with a report they didn't want to see and didn't end up wanting to read, which stated the truth that the police were ordered to stand down by the police chief, by the mayor, and whoever else was responsible for that at Charlottesville. We see time and again at cities across America, and our international listeners all around the world, white, non-white, and everything in between, should know what's really taking place in the United States of America. This is not the land of the free, home and the brave. This is a land dominated by an anti-white regime that gives carte blanche to absolute murderers on our streets, absolute thugs, to harm everyone who is a heretic to the anti-white narrative by which we are all forced to live or suffer the consequences. That is the truth about what America is today. So what do we see? How do we act upon that in the future? One final thing I'll say about the CivNats is showing their true colors. Once again, the CivNat leadership. And please, if you are in one of these groups, leave it now. Come to the circle of love and white well-being. We will happily embrace you. These imbeciles, their most popular leaders in the CivNat and conservative movements, are now referring to Antifa as white supremacists, as Nazis. Now, I know they've been doing that on and off for a long time. I didn't show up yesterday. I was born at night, but not last night. I've been in the cause for a long time. But there is this new concerted effort to refer to these. When you look at them in the videos, they're clearly predominantly white, anti-white dirtbags, the malefactors, the dregs of society. These are not people who are motivated by anything glorious. No, they know that they're given a free pass to do what their sick and distorted souls want them to do, which is to destroy and to sully and to set ablaze. That is all they want to do. And they can do it in the name of anti-whiteism and get away with it. They can do it in the name of inflicting harm on Western kind and Western civilization, and they are given a free pass, very often lauded by networks in the regime's news and entertainment media. Those are the kind of people. So when they are called Nazis, when they are defined as white supremacists, eventually there could be something afoot here. If this continues, who will be punished but you and I? They're not going to come for the balaclava-wearing dirtbag who is looking at child pornography on his computer and is a pedophile, and she is abusing the children that she's hired to take care of, or whatever other disgusting things that these people are up to. These roaches of society. They are not going to punish them. If the general masses of people can be made to believe, and trust me, the many millions who are only getting snippets of truth from the way of the regime, if they can be made to believe and hear enough times that the anti-whites wearing the balaclavas are Nazis, are white supremacists, are white nationalists, if they can believe that those people are those things, then they will endorse, they will connive with the regime when the regime says, we've got to take out these troublemakers. But they're not going to come for the anti-whites in the balaclavas. They're going to come for me. They're going to come for the great Jared George. They're going to come for the world-renowned Mark Collette. They're going to come for the brilliant Dr. Patrick Slattery. They're not going to come for those bastards, those roaches. So keep an eye, everyone, on the leaders of the CivNats. This won't be the first time that leaders of nationalistic groups, this won't be the first time, it won't be the second, it won't be the 20th time, it won't be the 50th time that leaders of nationalistic groups and of nationalistic and conservative sounding movements have been pressed into service by the anti-whites and have led all of their followers down very destructive allies for our people and our countries. Do you understand what I'm saying? These thought leaders in the CivNat and the nationalist movement and the conservative movements, if they all begin chirping with the same voice, the same lexicon, that these individuals setting fire, burning buildings, breaking heads open of poor little Asian innocent guys, or racist Nazi white supremacists, if they can be made to believe that, the public will shrug their shoulders when the government decides to use the Patriot Act on somebody like me. So if you see them talking about this stuff in the chats, on other shows, you get to them. If you have blogs, you write about this. Make it known now, before it becomes a problem. I have survived this long. I have gotten this message out to as many people as I have reached, not by reacting to the anti-whites, but by being 2 and 5 steps ahead of them, by thinking circles around them. That is how we have to be from now on. The conservatives, the nationalists, the CivNats, all these losers out there, they can continue to be reactionaries. When the anti-whites do this, they give the pathetic whimper here. When the anti-whites do that, they give a pathetic whimper from over here. No, we act, and then the anti-whites have to respond. Let me see. I'd like to also say that we have Antifa or communist. Communism, by definition, is anti-white. Absolutely. That's an absolute truth. I see the great HB 2014 has shown up. And I want to say about HB that he has made the comment that we should all be following each other. And that is something that I want to talk about. Good Lord. I mean, we've been rolling on the stream for a very long time. I guess we can keep rolling. Or maybe I should save some of this for another Going Free stream. Maybe we could do one on tomorrow. We have PWR. We have Going Free. Not Going Free, but TAP. I spoke about. Fantastic guest, Laura Lee, we are having on. So maybe, and then we have in America Independence Day. So maybe Friday stream, maybe also a Sunday stream, and we can touch upon all of these things we didn't reach here today. A great show. Laurel says the Asian guy got more sympathy than Landon Hoffman. Boy, that really, very well said. Very well said. And that shows, that's the white noir in our people. That is the physical, mental, and spiritual sickness of our people, ladies and gentlemen. That, yes, our heart goes out to this innocent Asian man, his family, the pain he's suffering. I don't know to what degree his injuries that he's inflicted with, to what degree they are afflicting him. If he is in a serious state or stable state, I hope that he will recover, and that the concerns of his family will be laid at ease. But how much truth did Laura just speak there? That we see all of this love pouring in for this grown Asian man. I don't know how old he is, but presumably he obviously is a grown man. He lives much more of his life than little Landon, who could have died. Landon thrown over the balcony, of course, by an anti-white, non-white person who was that individual also an immigrant. Now, we're not saying anything bad about the immigrant community. ADL YouTube, we know that plenty of geniuses, doctors and lawyers, and everything else comes in as immigrants to this country. So we're not specifically saying anything bad about immigrant community, but was that individual that threw little Landon, was he also new to the country? Zendrofen says, and we love coming here, Jason. Well, thank you very much. Much love in return. Ragnarok says, you make a fair point, but you're giving the anti-whites too much credit. They don't research what they attack. I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. But your point can still fit into the broader picture. I thank you for sharing it. If you want to clarify before we go, please do. I want to thank Zed Dez has offered a big thank you, and if we could, a big round of applause for Zed, who offered to assist with doing the minutes for these live streams. What I want to do is I want to take these live streams. They as you can see, they often get very long. We talk about a lot of different subjects, and a lot of this information is very powerful and helpful to folks. The things we talk about, the things that I come up with, things that you all come up with, very powerful stuff. And we want to be able to share this with everyone. However, people don't have all the time in the world to look at a stream, even if it's an hour long. If there's some nugget of value to them here or there in that stream, they don't have an hour. They certainly don't have 3 and more hours to spend looking for those nuggets that will be very powerful for them. So one of the most powerful things that we can do, that Zed does in this glory, a big thank you. Everyone, please, in the chat, if we could give a big thank you to Zed for stepping up to help. We're going to need more than just one person helping with this, but a big thank you to come in to watch these streams and then to write down the minute marks and provide me say that between this minute mark and that minute mark, you were talking about X. Between this minute mark and that minute mark, you were talking about Y. I can then take these videos, or pardon me if I'm busy with someone else or with something else, perhaps we can find someone else to do this, extract these portions, and then I can post these as standalone videos, and we can put them up on the playlist so that you can share these things with your friends and family, a specific topic, and you can say, hey, my brother Joey needs really to hear this message, and you can send him that link. Or my sister Betty needs to really hear this, and you can send them that link, and it's going to be something that is 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, something that people will be able to watch. It will be invaluable. We need help to do this. So this is a way that you all can help. If you need to stay in the shadows, you don't have money, you don't have other skills that you can contribute, perhaps you're in a precarious place, but you do have some time. You do have a half an hour a night or something like this that you can watch. Write to me an email by way of my website. Make sure you say at the top that you would like to help with doing the minutes. I will give you a video to work on. If you want to work on more than one, we can talk about that as well. But please, let's at least get each of you who volunteers one video to watch. You go through the entire video, you do the minutes, and you provide a value that is, who knows, 100, 1,000, 10,000 fold than you could have otherwise given to the cause of white well-being. Think about how many people will hear the snippets of value that you invest your time to demarcate and I can extract and make available. Think about how many people will hear those snippets and be able to begin going free, the kind of help that you could give to someone. How many Mackenzies are you going to save by doing that simple act? So I put that all out to you, and I hope we get a great response. I asked last time, and Zed responded, and a big cheers. I also had people offering to do translations. We're going to be getting to all of those products as well. A big salute and thank you to all of you as well. But back to Laurel's point, poor little Landon was thrown over the balcony. Thank God he is going to live. If I'm thinking of the right crime and the right child, I believe I am. Patrick Henry says he's finally going for real this time. This is the kind of party nobody wants to leave. So I thank you all for being here. It's been a tremendous experience. Thank you all. So yeah, white people, otherwise, they hear about one of our own. And this is, I see Jilly Storm is here giving a great big attaboy salute to Zed Des. Thank you for that, Jilly. Anonymous as well. Thank you for that. This is important that we acknowledge the people who are doing the work of white well-being, the people who don the ropes, who don the bridle and help to pull this thing along. It's important that we acknowledge their efforts. So thank you very much for all of that. But part of the seeing white noir, people say, what is this? This is the physical, the mental, the spiritual disease that afflicts white people because of the meme pathogens. This is real, ladies and gentlemen. Laurel just spoke to it. A great example is that white people naturally a caring people, naturally a loving people, naturally a people that will succor the injured and the weak. When they see this poor Asian guy who gets absolutely maimed and attacked by these anti-white monsters, when they see that, they rightly feel sympathy for him. They rightly feel for his family. It is intrinsic. It is natural to us. We are loving people. But then when they hear about little Landon being tossed over the edge of the third story at the mall and plummeting what could have been to his death on the tile below, they shrug their shoulders. What could be a more conspicuous sign of white noir, of this disease that is afflicting our people? That you see them shrug their shoulders. They couldn't care less about the white little boy. And of course, part of this not only is the MPs that are already inside of them, but it's the fear of heresy, because they know who's in charge of the regime. They know that if they express concern for the white little boy that was harmed by the non-white man, that they have passed into unforgivable territory. Something I figured out when I was 11 years old, and everyone should be able to. That if you follow anti-whiteism to its logical conclusion, it means that all things are immoral that serve our well-being, and all things are moral that serve our ill-being, the harming of our people. And so that's why they shrug, because they're suffering from white noir. They know the punishment that comes when you are a heretic of anti-whiteism in the West today. So let me see the final comments here. And then I think we're going to be checking out of this, but we'll do one last thing before we actually check out, because I mentioned it. Oh, when I want to, maybe I should do, let me see. Let me take a quick look at my notes. All right. I think what I'll do is I will come back on a Going Free stream, perhaps Friday evening or Sunday evening. I see Anonymous writes, "Don't forget the pitcher. We need to see we've raised all the money for, or whose name I guess we've raised all the money for in this stream." Kung Slugs says, "Jason, you're so sane. Thank you and everyone who follow in your footsteps." Thank you, good brother. From Sweden, I believe that's right. Okay. Lisa P says, "Show the picture." We're going to do that. I can't believe, we've had such a great stream. I want to talk about, we're going to come back on Friday and or Sunday, maybe both days. I want to talk about the censorship that we're supposed to be talking about. I want to talk about a great hero, and I'm going to mention her now, the great hero who has really just stepped up to the plate. But I want to say that there are others who also stepped up to the plate. So anti-whites, if you're thinking, well, all we need to do is just go after this one particular person and we'll make a dent, I'm afraid it's not going to work. But I needed, and we'll talk about this when we get together next, I needed some help with a project. We're not going to talk about it now. We'll talk about it on Friday or Sunday. And it was an urgent need that I needed on a project. And I had several people reach out and said, me, I'll do it. But the one who did it and we will be celebrating, we'll talk about what she did this coming Friday or Sunday, is Phoenix Fire, everybody. Big round of applause. She's not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what she did. We'll talk about it on Friday, but a big round of applause. Let's acknowledge her for her hard work. She absolutely stepped up to the plate. There were a couple other names of folks who were willing to step up to the plate, but she got here first. I thank you all. I thank everybody who offered to step up and make this project come to fruition. Phoenix Fire made it happen, ladies and gentlemen, and she is doing it out of her love for our people, just as the others who offered. Now, this, I don't slight anybody who needs payment by any way, shape, or form. We all need to eat. We all need to pay our electric bills. If all of this goes off, I won't be able to do this for you. So we all need to do these things. But it's also very fair to mention that Phoenix has done this out of the goodness of her heart. So a big round of applause and a big heartfelt thank you to Phoenix Fire, always doing the duty in the modding, stepping up along with the great and wonderful Spartan Warrior Queen, who, if I haven't mentioned before, I will mention that if you've ever looked at me on camera and thought, well, Jason's dressed well today. If you've ever looked at me and thought that, Spartan Warrior Queen and a couple others I've spoken to, but Spartan Warrior Queen has absolutely given me numerous tips on what not to wear and what to wear based on a couple of the points of the formula. And so I don't think I've gone wrong yet. So I want to thank Spartan Warrior Queen as well for that. They do, HB. They're absolutely doing double duty. And a big thank you to Phoenix Fire. It was not a little bit of work that she did, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, a big thank you. Yes, if it hadn't been for Spartan Warrior Queen, I may have been on video in something that looks like it should have been worn at Barnum and Bailey. Who knows? So I thank you very much for that. Let's see. Make sure that we have everything here, and then we'll get on to... yes. Okay. All right. So what we have here that we're going to end on is, I've been thinking while we've been doing this, I want to thank everybody for participating in this stream. It has been magnificent. You all are our heroes. You're our best people. I'm inspired by all of you. The excitement is palpable. It's just every day we're getting stronger and better. Projects are coming together. Before you know it, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to look in the rearview mirror and we're going to say, that is when we turned the corner and we recaptured our destiny. Before you know it, time will be here. Before you know it, we'll have a plot of land and we'll have a headquarters. Before you know it, these things will be coming together. So I'm very excited to be here with you all. We win here in the fight for white well-being. We win in this cause going free. Other places in the white positive sphere, they're always suffering losses. They're always bemoaning losses. There are never any big victories. We have big victories. Look at some of the videos that Jared George and I have done on tap. Big victories. Jared George turned the censoring him off of YouTube into a big victory. That's what we do here. And so we're going to have more of them. I want to thank everybody who responded today to the response to Eyes on the Right, who is a talentless typist for the discredited rag known as Angry White Men, who wrote a smear piece on me to ruin me by labeling me with all of these ugly terms. And so today what we did was every dollar that was donated to the cause of white well-being was done so in his name. And we raised a small fortune for white well-being in the name of Eyes on the Right. So I want to thank everybody for that, for every penny that has been given to get back at our good friend over at Angry White Men. And again, I'll say, I think it's for the 4th time during this stream, I wonder if his employer knows that he's raising so much money for white well-being. I would think that that would be a punishable offense. Probably in anti-white circles, it's probably worth a beheading. So we'll see. So finally, the very end we have here, and I've been contemplating what to do with this. I've really been contemplating because we have, as I said at the beginning, we have a very realistic picture. You're looking at the back of Eyes on the Right, hiding behind this pseudonym, behind this moniker. We'll happily put my name, Jason Kuna, in his articles so that the balaclavas and the like can see these things. And really all he's end up doing is he's going to get those folks hurt really bad if they decide to come around. So happily using my name, but really should just use No White Guilt, to be fair to me. But I got a realistic picture. And then I also have a picture that is a little less realistic and a little funnier. So the question is, where are we in dealing with Eyes on the Right? Which picture should go up? Which picture? Spartan Warrior Queen says, I predict a beak. Well, killing us here with the suspense. Okay. I'm going to show you one of the pictures then. I don't think that we're necessarily far along with Seaver says neither. Doesn't want to see anyone. Some people say both. Andre's saying both. The straight truth is realistic. Somebody is saying superior white paper. Sargent says, I don't think for what Eyes on the Right has done so far, and I think for raising him and his cohorts over there at that discredited rag hasn't been as bad, of course, as it could be, and also we've really done quite an ass whooping with all of this money raised in his name today here on the show for white well-being, a beautiful thing. So I think I'm going to go with this picture. I know what you all are thinking. Now show us the funny one. We'll go with this one for now. I'll tweet this out today. This is a likeness of Eyes on the Right. And from now on, we are going to christen him because I suspect that he would hate being christened. So we are going to christen him, and from now on, he will be known as Cross Eyes on the Right. And I'm going to tweet and gab this image, and I want you all to immediately grab it when I do, and save it to your desktops. And whenever we see anything written by Eyes on the Right or any of the other talentless typists over there at the discredited rag, Angry White Men, you can tweet this image as their author. Cross Eyes on the Right. Old Cross Eyes on the Right. I'm betting he's happy I didn't show the other image just now. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you all for spending this time going free with me, for having a bit of fun, for raising all of this money for white well-being in the name of an individual who would like to destroy white well-being, and nothing could taste sweeter than that, my friends. And I look forward to seeing you all again next time to Go Free.